1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Good Shepard.
Yeah, you are. That's me. Welcome, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. You could be in your car. You could be in your truck. You could be listening for free on the Odyssey app. You could be checking us out on our YouTube stream and seeing everybody clown me for my shirt. I got no issue with this shirt. And trust me, other people have no issue with this shirt. So clown me all you want. That's okay. Listen. Better than the black and white shirt I was wearing yesterday. So, listen, if you can't get through our busy phone lines, you can always hit us up on our YouTube chat. You can always hit me up at Shep on Air on any social media platform. And we are almost among our final 4 teams in the men's NCAA tournament. Certainly, we'll talk in great detail about what took place with the comeback of all comebacks in the Elite Eight. Shout out to Florida. What an incredible performance down the stretch, led, of course, by their All-American, Walter Clayton Jr. That was a hell of a game. Duke, Alabama, not so much. That was not exactly something that you were, sitting on the edge of your seat for, but you certainly were for the game between Texas Tech and Florida, and that's where we got to get started. But before I do anything else, KP was part of this cut sheet. Look at that. So, Liam, man, it's our first time ever working together. First of all, I can't see you because it's all dark in there, but that's okay. That's your preference if that's how you want it. But welcome to the Infinity Sports Network, man. How you doing?
It's great to be here. I'm doing well. I could turn the lights on if you want. I could do
That's your choice, man. That is your that is your call. So you having a good experience so far? Where are you coming from?
Come from Long Island, so commuting in about 50 minutes, not too bad.
Oh, I meant like school, previous employer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just got out of my community college radio station about a year ago, trying to find my footing and everywhere. I also work at one of the sister stations here, the news radio station, so I work there as well, trying to get my hands on as much as humanly possible.
That's awesome, man. Well, welcome. And that's a good transition, Liam, because I will tell you who had their hands all over that elite game. And, of course, you got to start with, Walter Clayton Jr. He was unbelievable. He actually missed a 3, believe it or not, late in that Elite Eight matchup against Texas Tech. And then Thomas Howe, don't call him who, call him Howe. That's a Cheers reference for anyone that watched the show in the 80s and 90s. He had the biggest offensive rebound of the entire season. And he had all the confidence in the world coming off the bench. He ends up putting the shot up, and now he makes it a 6-point game. Folks, you do realize that Texas Tech was up by 9 points with less than 3 minutes to go in this game, and ultimately it was an 18-4 run in favor of the number 1 seed, Florida, and they continue to keep dancing. And they were more than happy, and I thought this was a brilliant strategy, to continuously send Texas Tech to the line. Obviously, nerves got the better of them. They were 7 of 13 from the charity stripe. For you math majors at home, that's about 54%. That's like Shaq, Dwight Howard, Ben Wallace, territory. You never want to be at that mark. And those two things were the difference in the game. The second half spurt, specifically the last 3 minutes for Florida, where they just went unconscious from three, and then the missed free throws, especially at the front ends of 1-and-1 by Texas Tech, that ultimately cost them an opportunity to make it to the Final Four. Because what you saw from Florida, I mean, those weren't just made threes. That was an avalanche of made threes, and 4 specifically. And, we got some highlights. So, Liam, good job getting this sound, man. So, what we're going to play for you is we're going to play for you that shot. So, Walt, this is the Thomas Howe three-pointer that ultimately brings them to within 3. And, of course, this is courtesy of the Westwood One NCAA radio network.
Clayton with the dribble near midcourt. Clayton dribbles over on the left, double team briefly up top to Richard. High right side to Houck. He's going to launch the three from the wing. Got it! 3-point game! 2:23 to go, 75-72. Houck's got 20.
Howe is incredible. Off the bench, Howe had 20. He got them started with that momentous run, but it was the All-American that finished it. This is Walter Clayton Jr. tying the game at 75. This caps off a 9-0 run. Of course, this is all courtesy of the Westwood One NCAA radio network.
Here's Houck above the left elbow. Get it back to Clayton. Back up top to Houck. Houck stops, thought about the three, toss it back out to Clayton. Clayton dribbling over on the left wing. Matched against Darian Williams. He'll jump the three for the tie. It's good! Knotted up! 75 apiece. 1:45 to go. 9-0 Gator run.
Poor Darian Williams, man. That guy was the hero, for the Red Raiders over Arkansas in the Sweet 16. He had ultimately the game-tying three that sent it to overtime. He ultimately had the game-winning bucket in overtime. And so, man, March Madness can be cruel sometimes. 1 minute, you are absolutely flying on cloud 9. Second minute, you just got your season completely effaced, and you are no longer playing and representing your school. And in all likelihood, given the transfer portal, given NIL, probably not sticking around. So what we saw was the last 3 made by Texas Tech, I kid you not, was 12:51 to go in the second half. That was the last 3 made in this game by Texas Tech. The last 3 made by, you talk about a number 1 seed living up to that, title. They had 4 made threes in the final 3 minutes. And, Darion Lewis, I don't think he's still ever going to have to pay for another meal or drink in the state of Texas again, because what he was able to pull off, highlighting that 16-point comeback against Arkansas to get to the Elite Eight, was just one of the more remarkable comebacks you will ever see. This game, along with that overtime game versus Arkansas, I think have been the 2 most back-and-forth, entertaining, must-watch games in the NCAA tournament. I think they've lost a little bit of luster because it's all been chalk. You're likely going to have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. Now, I don't know about you, but if these are 4 number 1 seeds and these guys have been on this roster for 3-4 years, and it's someone like a Tyler Hansborough or a Jimmer Fredette or a Christian Laettner or a Grant Hill, I can get behind that. But I don't know how you feel about this, but guys go from one school to one school to one school. You have junior college transfers. You have transfers just from other Division I schools. It's tough to keep track of. So you would have liked to have seen a double-digit seed sneak in there. You would have liked to have seen one of these teams from the non-Power 5 conferences get into the Final Four. So to me, it's lacked a little bit of luster so far in this NCAA tournament, but this specific game, it did not. And any time you're hitting fadeaway threes to give your team the lead and the ultimate basket that keeps you ahead, like what we witnessed from Walter Clayton Jr. that gave them a 1-point lead, 78-77, you just know it's your time. You know it's your time to get to the Final Four. And congratulations to Florida for getting to their first Final Four since the days of Billy Donovan back in 2014. Todd Golden, he's got the golden touch. So does Walter Clayton Jr. This is what ultimately gave them the lead with less than a minute left, and this is courtesy of Westwood One NCAA radio network.
Clayton will lob it to Houck above the left elbow. Houck backdoor to Clayton, makes the catch inside. Has the dribble out of trouble in the paint, backs up, turns, fires a three from the top. It's good! He did it again! Clayton's got 28. Florida leads by 1. What a shot by Walter Clayton!
If that cat didn't become a household name these last couple of days, I don't know what else he has to do. He was making shots, plain and simple. It wasn't just about the All-American. It was about Thomas Howe off the bench with 20 points. And, listen, I alluded to this before. You got to be able to make free throws. Like, I'm not trying to oversimplify that. This is something that, as a coach, that I know something about. At the end of practice, no matter what my team does, they are tired. They're sometimes frustrated because, a play didn't go their way in a scrimmage or a teammate didn't pass them the ball. Hey, they're in high school. They find ways to get frustrated over nothing, right? So what I always do is at the end of practice, no matter what, no matter how bad or good practice was, they are at the free throw line when they're tired, when they're drained, because come game time, they need to be prepared for that. And it just seemed like to me, and this is obviously a bird's eye view, I do not think Texas Tech practices free throws. I really don't. I really don't. I mean, to go 54% as a team in the Elite Eight, and think about it, college is different, right? Because obviously you need a certain amount of fouls to go in your favor to shoot 2 free throws. But in college, oftentimes it's 1-and-1 for the first couple times. And so they were missing out not just on free throws, but multiple points at the free throw line each time because they couldn't even make the front end of a 1-to-1. So you cost yourself 4 points in that 9-0 run that Florida had late in the second half. And that cost you the game. It's that simple, man. Like JT Toppin, he's going to be experiencing all kinds of free throw nightmares. I mean, that was just really tough to watch. But the reality is, Grant McCaslin, he talked after the game to try to sum up this particular loss. This is going to be a tough loss to swallow. You are within minutes. I mean, you were less than a minute away from upsetting the number 1 seed, becoming the first team of this tournament to upset a number 1 seed. And now you go home packing. But let's show Grant McCaslin some love after the loss. Let's take a listen.
What Chance McMillan did today just doesn't have anything to do with the score. It just has everything to do with what I want to live my life like. He's obviously in a situation where he probably could have not come back. And I told these guys in the locker room, there's something about laying down your life for your brothers in a position where you could take, just the path that is easier, and Chance didn't. Man, I'm so inspired by him, and because of him, I do believe our program is different forever.
So I've heard him speak before. He's just a good guy. He's what's right about college basketball. Speaking of what's right about college basketball, Walter Clayton Jr., the All-American, you talk about having all the mental toughness in the world. You talk about having that swag, playing at the Chase Center. Don't think I'm not, unaware that he's doing his best Steph Curry impression. He talked about his very mindset after the win.
Just staying together. We all kept telling each other to stay together, stay the course. There's a lot of time left on the clock. So keep on playing to the final buzzer. Don't break during adversity.
I think it's fair to say they did not break during adversity. And again, you can't say enough about Walter Clayton Jr., man, scoring 13 of his game-high 30 points in essentially the last 4 minutes of this contest. Anyone who knows anything about the Chase Center, similarly to Yankee Stadium, like the house that Ruth built, Chase Center is the house that Steph Curry built. And that's the closest performance I've seen to somebody like a Steph Curry player. Like that's the closest you're ever going to see a Steph Curry caliber performance. 13 points in the final 4 minutes to get to the Final Four. That would make Steph Curry very proud. I still remember his days at Davidson, and he was so close to upsetting Kansas in that Elite Eight back in 2008. And Walter Clayton Jr. able to pull off something that Steph Curry, unfortunately, was never able to accomplish. And now the Gators, winners of 10 straight, they're going to be playing the winner of Auburn and Michigan State. We'll certainly preview that. It's no accident that I tweeted out Michigan State's Final Four bound, because I believe they're going to take care of business against Auburn for the simple fact that Michigan State and Tom Izzo, they are undefeated against SEC schools in the tournament. And I believe the win-loss record in favor of Tom Izzo is 10-0 against SEC schools. So he's pretty much unbeatable. And you also understand that the last time these guys faced each other in an Elite Eight, that being Bruce Pearl and Tom Izzo, Izzo was able to get the better of him and outcoached him down the stretch. I'm always going to give the coaching matchup favor to Tom Izzo. So I like Florida versus Michigan State personally. But regardless, there's no way Auburn, Michigan State is going to live up to this kind of a game, because the quality was so high at the end, especially from Florida. And again, you win these types of big-time matchups when you do the little things right. And so free throws, I cannot emphasize this enough. Every single thing you pour into a season, it comes down to a 15 wide open look foot shot that you have been probably practicing at some point in your life for the better part of 15 years. And for them, and that being Texas Tech, to squander their Final Four chances because they could not knock down free throws, that is going to live with them for a long, long time. And conversely, you talk about Walter Clayton Jr., 13 of 14 from the charity stripe. The dude had basically double the amount of free throws as the entire Texas Tech squad. That is called getting it done. You expected the All-American to show up. The most surprising thing for me was the 2 late threes that really sparked that key comeback late in the second half. And that, of course, is courtesy of Thomas Howe. The true definition of March Madness is the momentum swings. It's how you are the hero. You are on top of the world on any given night. You pull off a 16-point second half comeback against Arkansas. You're in the Elite Eight, chance to go to the Final Four. And then March Madness is a cruel, cruel venture because less than 48 hours later, you find yourselves this time on the other side of a second half comeback when you were up by 9 points with less than 3 minutes to go. This is the quintessential definition of March Madness, and we certainly saw all of it in this particular contest. We did not see it between Duke and Alabama. I told y'all Duke was going to run away with this tournament. You didn't believe me. You said, well, Shep, it was 100-93 when Duke, was able to barely escape Arizona. What I tried to tell you was Caleb Love, he gave them everything that Duke could handle because their problem is they struggle with smaller guards. So they didn't struggle against Sears on Saturday, that's for sure. But every time you have a team win an NCAA championship, unless they're the UConn Huskies winning by at least 13 points every single game, there's always going to be a test that they have to endure. That was Duke's test. But I told you, John Shire was going to absolutely outcoach Nate Oates, and that happened. We will get to that on the other side. But here's my question for you, as I still try to memorize this phone number at 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Hey, I kind of got it there. When you look at Florida and Texas Tech, what were the keys to you about this victory for Florida? What stood out? And do you give Florida a real shot to actually win the national title? I still think this is Duke's, but what say you? And has this been the best game so far in March Madness? Again, number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. If you cannot get through our busy phone lines, you can always hit me up at Shep on Air on any social media platform. You can always reach us on the YouTube chat, which I guarantee you somebody is commenting on my shirt and making fun of me, and that's okay because I'm dressed for radio, not television, but sometimes I'll dress better, I promise. But that is the phone number to get aboard. And when we get back, we are going to discuss Cooper Flagg not having his A game, but it didn't matter because Duke's got a lot of lottery-bound draft picks. They're scary good, and they're better than everybody else. So much more to do on The Good Shepherd. We're jam-packed. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Shep is my inspiration to go into this industry, and he's like my idol right now.
This is the Good Shepherd. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with us, the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome in, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. We got a lot of commentary going on in our YouTube chat, and certainly people want to hear and discuss Paige Bueckers. We will get to her 40-point outburst in the Sweet 16. She was unbelievable. She did something that has never been done in the history of UConn women's basketball, specifically in the NCAA tournament. So anytime you are doing something to where you are making history for that program, and that program has a coach that is obviously still there in Gina Auriemma, that has won, not two, I won't list every number, but 11 national titles. I mean, that's more than John Wooden at UCLA. So we'll certainly, pay attention to what took place in the women's tournament as well. USC with a gutsy, inspiring effort, despite losing their All-American, guard and Juju Watkins. That's really unfortunate because she really took the mantle for Caitlin Clark. Obviously Caitlin's absence. Paige Bueckers, you can make an argument, is going to be the number 1 overall pick. But to me, the best player in college basketball this year has been Juju Watkins. And we all knew that was going to be the case because we saw her ascend as a freshman often. So to me, the women's tournament is just as exciting as the men's, and we'll certainly, pay some time to talk about it and really give them their proper due. Speaking of giving teams their proper due, I've been on Duke early this year because I just saw them as a team that were head and shoulders above everybody that they were playing. You talk about a Duke Blue Devils team that literally has 4 lottery-bound picks in the 2025 NBA draft. They are loaded, and they have themselves a really good head coach in Jon Scheyer. And, you talk to former players all the time. You want credibility with your head coach. You want your head coach to be someone that understands what your position is, your trials, your tribulations. You want a coach to understand what it means to get to that proverbial mountaintop. Jon Scheyer was the driving force behind that 2010 Duke national title team. So you know that he's been there, done that. So there's instant credibility. So for Duke, I'm not surprised at all that they are the best team in the country with the talent that they have, which is clearly loaded. And then to, add to that, you have a quality head coach where no one is talking anymore about is he the right replacement for Coach K. We're just bringing up the name Jon Scheyer, just talking about him being a terrific coach. Conversely, you see at UNC with Hubert Davis, there's still very much question marks about whether or not he's the right replacement for Roy Williams. And Scheyer, he's been around Duke 1 year less, and no one's having that conversation anymore. So Duke wins, against Alabama, 85-65. They make their Final Four debut under Jon Scheyer as a head coach, but they were there 3 years ago, so we're not surprised Duke is back. The reality is Alabama, they clearly did not read the scouting report properly because Cooper Flagg right away was making threes, and I know he's 6'9", but you got to guard him at all spots on the court, and they just did not do that. And so it was 3-0, 19 seconds into this game. It was 13-5 by the time there was the first media timeout. So obviously it was very apparent that Duke had their signature all over this game, and they were not going to let up. And before the first media timeout, not only was it 13-5, but you also saw that they could not miss from three, whether it was Tyrese Proctor, Con Knipple. And not only were they converting from three, those two individuals specifically, but they were getting exactly what they wanted, penetrating every single time into the lane. There was no rim protector for Alabama, so that was a big problem. And for the first time in since the 1970s, Duke is in the Final Four with a head coach not nicknamed K. So that is pretty exciting. The scary thing for the rest of the tournament is, if you're watching this game, Duke obviously steamrolls Alabama in the Elite Eight, wins by 20, 85-65. Cooper Flagg did not play great in this game. He was not all that efficient. Now, for anyone else, he played pretty good. By his standards, this was a subpar performance. And they still rolled over Alabama by 20 points. So that's just scary for the Final Four. And then what you saw from Alabama, and clearly if you go to Duke, you do your homework, what you saw from Alabama against BYU was just lights out. Completely lights out shooting from three. An NCAA tournament record, 25 made threes. Mark Sears had 10 alone. Well, in this game, they were just 8 of 32 from three. So you talk about the difference, and this is not a knock on BYU. It's just really highlighting and pinpointing how great Duke is. It's more a testament to their greatness, not so much saying BYU is not good, because they are. You make the Sweet 16, you're good. But Duke was able to hold them to 8 threes in this game. Quite a contrast from the 25 we saw 2 days ago. So if you're Duke, they did their homework. And they have this freshman, Kaman Molak. He is the ultimate rim protector, man. I mean, you talk about the Crimson Tide. They're as good as anyone in the nation in terms of getting to the rim, getting inside, shooting beneath the arc. They're 60% from the field. They were nowhere near that in terms of points in the paint, and that's because of Kaman Molak, who is the ultimate rim protector in this game. And Jonathan Givnoy, I think that's his name. He's like an NBA draft expert, he's got him as a top 10 pick. Well, his stock is only going to move up. And then, they have this All-American, Mark Sears. Obviously, I mentioned him. He had 30 points and threes alone in their last game. I think he finished with 34 against BYU. They held him to 2 of 12 shooting in this game. 2 of 12. He finished with 6 points. So unlike the last game, in which was a barn burner, in which was a back and forth, which was an edge of your seat type of contest, we're not going to play you any highlights. We are going to talk about Jon Scheyer and the impact that he's had on this program, the fact that Jon Scheyer went 19-1 in the ACC, the fact that for the first time since 2006, when J.J. Redick was a member of the Duke Blue Devils, wasn't even in the NBA yet, that's the last time Duke had won the ACC regular season and tournament outright. Well, they did that in 2025. They are the real deal, and they're not satisfied with the Final Four. And Jon Scheyer hated, not disliked, hated losing last year to DJ Burns and NC State, and he had to hear about it for the last 365 days. You had a tailor-made red carpet to the Final Four. You talk about Houston having their best player get hurt. That was an easy Sweet 16 victory, even though Duke barely escaped that one. You talk about NC State that many people felt like shouldn't even have been in the tournament. That should have been a Final Four berth for Duke. Well, they certainly made amends the following year. Here's Jon Scheyer talking about learning from that experience and now being in his first Final Four.
That sounds great. San Antonio sounds great. Look, first, couldn't be more excited and happy for these guys to my left. I think Tyrese and I, the feeling of losing last year at this point, every decision we made, everything we did was to get back here and then have the team have the opportunity to advance to the promised land, to go to San Antonio, to go to the Final Four.
So, Final Four bound Cooper Flagg. Pretty good for a guy that just reclassified up to play a year ahead at college, even though he just turned 18 years old. What do you have to say for yourself, young man, after the win?
I think it's kind of something that I've said a lot through this whole year is that we just have such a talented team. Each night could be somebody else's night. I think tonight Khan kind of stepped up and had the ball a lot. We ran a lot of actions for him. Tyrese was huge for us. I think it's just having so many talented guys on the team. It's not going to be your night every night, and just don't hang your head. Just keep playing hard. Somebody talk about just winning the 98%, doing all the little things. So just not letting the shots affect anything else you do, and just knowing that the rest of the guys got my back and are going to make those plays.
Duke had too much size. They had too much physicality. You're talking about a team in Alabama that scored 91 points per game this year. They just put up 100 plus. I think it was 113 against BYU. Obviously, the 25 made threes. They were held to 65. So that's 26 below. That is 26 below their season average. So clearly, Duke got the memo of how to take away their best asset, which is points in the paint. And you cannot say enough about Kaman Molak, man. He is an assassin in terms of swiping everything that comes his way. I will be shocked if he does not go in the top 10. And you know the perennial household names for Duke at this point of the season. Obviously, you got Concanipple, you got Tyrese Proctor, and you have, of course, the most famous one of all, Cooper Flagg. But this individual, Kaman Molak, man, the job that he's able to do in being that defensive anchor, you're not going to get anything easy against Duke. And so Duke, this was such a bad matchup for Alabama because they take away what Alabama does best, and it's not make 25 threes a game, it's actually points in the paint. That was essentially non-existent for Alabama compared to what we're accustomed to seeing in the regular season. So it was Duke that was able to finish consistently at the rim and throw lobs to Molak, making him seem like DeAndre Jordan in a college basketball game. So, Duke, they won the battle at the rim. They outscored Alabama 40-28 in the paint. You saw Alabama make a little bit of noise in the second half, but Duke, put them at bay. They went on an 11-4 run. They, at that point, the lead was 13, and they just never looked back. So, Nate Oates, impressive, time for you at Alabama. Obviously, the first time you have made back-to-back Elite Eight appearances, coming off a recent Final Four in 2024. But I know when you lose in this kind of fashion, where it's really not even a contest for the entire game, this can't feel too good. But my spider sense tells me he's going to put a spin on it where he's so proud of his guys and he loves the fight and he wouldn't want to coach anybody else in the history of college basketball, and he's going to see the glass half full.
Duke was good. We didn't do a great job attacking their switching on defense.
All right,
we
critical.
shot
There you go.
34%. We shot 35. They shot 54. I mean, it's hard to overcome that. And you get out rebounded by 11 too. So, we'd said kind of coming in the off season that, if we have a tough shooting night, 2 years ago when we were the number 1 overall seed, I think we shot 3 of 27 from 3 and lost. But we had gotten 20 boards. We got to figure out ways to be able to win when we don't shoot it well. The offensive rebounding was a big one. We kind of said we need to, be elite at, get to the free throw line. We didn't do any well.
Hey, listen, I don't always have the biggest bass in my voice, but Liam, is he talking in his hands? Like, did he just lose his dog?
I think he's distraught, man. I mean, he just lost, but you got to speak with your chest a little bit more.
It's Duke. Everyone loses to Duke this year.
That's true.
I mean, the only 3 losses they have, what, by 2 possessions or less, and they have 1 loss in the last 4 months?
I guess he just, he had so much belief in his team. He's just so devastated. He's just so surprised that they lost.
I'm not trying to poke fun at the guy, but my God, it's like someone died. It's like a funeral the way he's speaking.
Well, this or Dan Hurley after UConn losing? What was worse?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, Dan Hurley was crying.
Yeah, but that's emotion. Like, that's passion. I can take that. What I can't take is the asinine immaturity of Dan Hurley when he clearly got outcoached. And I hate to say that because I'm a UConn fan, but he got outcoached by Todd Golden. And instead of just, patting his guys on the back and putting his arm around their shoulders, he's visibly seen, hey, Baylor, hope they don't F you like they F'd us.
Yep.
Like a 5-year-old. So the post-game press conference of Dan Hurley, I'll take any day. It's the aftermath.
The antics.
Yeah, of course. It's the histrionics, right? It's the diva-like entitled behavior that doesn't sit well with anybody. And I will tell you something. I'm glad you brought up Dan Hurley, Liam, because to me, and how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're 20?
Yeah, 20.
I know what 20 is. Thank you. I'm just shocked. Like, that's young for anyone here. Like, I know, like, when people start out, they're sometimes 22, 23 years old. You're 20?
Yeah, 21 in August, almost there.
Wait. Okay. I thought you just said 20 in August. Wait, you just said you were 20.
No,
Damn, man.
yeah.
So you're born in 2004.
Yes.
Okay.
04. So
So you were born when I graduated high school.
I guess, yeah, that's one way to put it into perspective.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So this is what I always adhere to, okay? Tell me if you agree with this in your 20 years on this earth. How you handle adversity, how you handle obstacles, how you handle challenges is who you really are.
Oh, of course.
Show me how a person handles failure. I'll tell you what type of person they are. And Dan Hurley is a whining, I'm going to be respectful. I was going to say a B word, I'm not going to say it. He's a whining sourpuss. Let's leave it at that, okay? You know the word I was thinking of. I'm not going to use that. That's a little harsh. But he's a whining sourpuss. And when he doesn't get his way, when things don't go his way, he complains, he bitches, he moans, he points fingers. He doesn't look at himself. He doesn't take accountability. He doesn't show humility. That's a problem. There is no place for that in any sport, especially amateur sports. And I know there's NIL, and I know it's the transfer portal is more accessible than ever before. So it's more big business than we're talking actually amateurism, but it's still in spirit, in theory, supposed to be about student athletes growing up. That is not anyone who I would want to have anything to do with coaching and teaching men 18 through 22 years old.
So do you think this becomes a shift in the NIL whole paradigm where, UConn's looked at as a back-to-back NCAA tournament winner, but do you, as a parent, want to send your kid to a program that the leader is teaching you?
Are you from Pittsburgh?
No.
Because you just get like a program. Like you just do like a Pat McAfee program there. So that was pretty cool. Would I want to send my kids to play for him? No, I wouldn't. I'd want to send my kids to play for someone like John Shire. And I'm not big on the results in terms of win-losses the last 3 years, but I would send my kid to play for Hubert Davis. Like someone that's going to teach them how to really be a good man and how to build life skills that extend beyond the basketball court. That is 10 times more important to me than winning a national championship or going undefeated in the regular season or being a top 25 ranked team. That's all well and good, but that's for the school. That's not for you. That's not for your growth long term. How are you going to deal with failure and success? What kind of relationships are you going to build? And I would never have my kid, go play for Bobby Knight, the late, great Bobby Knight. I wouldn't do that. Now, I will tell you about Bobby Knight. He's one of the nicest people you ever meet if you're on his good side. But if he doesn't like you, you never, ever want to be in his presence. And Dan Hurley is very similar, has very similar mannerisms. He's in a very similar vein as Bobby Knight because it seems like he's that guy when things are going well for him, you always want to be around him because he's entertaining, he's captivating, he's polarizing. When things don't go well, he loses all kinds of perspective and he just hates and chews out everybody. So does that answer your question about would I send my kid to play for Dan Hurley?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What would you do? Would you send your kid to play for Dan Hurley?
I was going to give you a follow-up question. If you had a Cooper Flagg, for example, like number one overall pick, going to do great things no matter
where.
Well,
he's young enough to be my kid. You know that.
I guess so, yeah. So would you still be against sending him even if you have a guy who's going to make the NBA no matter what?
100%.
So it's just no Dan Hurley.
100%. Because listen, you talk about sure things, right? Zion Williamson was a sure thing, right? He was a sure thing. We all knew he was going number one overall. How's his NBA career worked out? Not anything to write home about. 2 All-Star appearances, hasn't been in a playoff yet. I'm trying to think of like guys who we felt like were going to be Adam Morrison. We all felt like Adam Morrison was going to be a top 3 pick. He lasted probably 5-6 years in the NBA. Hasheem Thabeet, he was a number 2 overall pick. Anthony Bennett, number 1 overall pick in 2013. He lasted maybe 2-3 years. Hasn't played an NBA game in probably a decade at this point. So I don't care how highly valued and rated you are. I care about the characteristics and the personality that you ultimately develop and what you learn from your coach. Basketball aside, I care more about the person developing than the basketball player. But that's just me as a parent. Not that I actually am a parent, but that's what I would want to be.
If you were.
A parent. If I was, exactly. Number to get aboard is 888. I can't believe you're 20. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. What has been your biggest takeaway so far from the first 2 games of the Elite Eight of the men's NCAA tournament? When we get back, we didn't forget about the women's NCAA tournament. And Paige Bueckers, she wanted to make sure you didn't forget. We explain that on the other side. We take your calls. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. You can always follow me at Shep On Air on any social media platform, more specifically Twitter and Instagram. You can hit us up on our YouTube chat. Shout out to the usuals there. I know Drunkle Sam's there. I know Quinn is there. I know Aaron is there. I know Tommy is there. Always great to hear from everyone. Peter Dragon, General Custer, always good to hear from y'all. So it's like the show behind the show. So check that out if you get a chance as well. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Dexter Henry.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, thank you, Dave. A slate of 7 NBA games on Saturday where a couple of teams stayed red hot. In Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, well, he was a walking bucket.
Wallace driving left, lays it up on Shepard, who blocks his layup. Caruso the loose ball, kicking to Shai. Working the angle left. Guarded by Toppin, 6 to shoot. Shai steps back, fires. The angle left three-pointer is online and in there. Cha-ching, that's Thunder money ball number 16 tonight. Shai authoring 3 of those, now has 33. 18 in the half.
That's the OKC Thunder radio network. The NBA's leading scorer continues to score. SGA with a game-high 33 points as the Thunder won their 9th consecutive game, punishing the Pacers 132-111. In San Antonio, Jason Tatum sealed another win for the Celtics.
It's in the hands of Holiday. Now in the corner, instead Porzingis going to take the 3. He'll miss it. Offensive rebound. Tatum puts it back up and in. Boston by 12, 67 seconds left.
That's the Celtics radio network. 29 points, 10 boards, and 8 dimes for the Boston All-Star as the Celtics made it 8 straight wins, stopping the Spurs 121-111. Elsewhere, 31 points, 7 boards, and 8 dimes for Austin Reeves as Los Angeles, the Lakers, they grinded past the Grizzlies 134-127. A team-high 20 points for Klay Thompson, including 5 triples on the night as the Mavericks, they bumped the Bulls 120-113. In Chicago, in Orlando, Paolo Banchero scored 24 points in 3 quarters. The Magic, they crowned the Kings 121-191. In the nation's capital, 6 Nets players reached double-figure scoring. Brooklyn, they dropped the Wizards 115 to 112. And the Heat, they got 30 points and 7 dimes from Tyler Hero to eliminate the Sixers from playoff contention with a 118 to 95 victory. We go over to men's college basketball in the NCAA tournament in San Francisco. Walter Clayton Jr. rescued Florida with some big-time shots in the second half en route to a game-high 30 points. Florida, they advanced to the Final Four. They bounced Texas Tech 84-79. And Duke, they also advanced to the Final Four. They dumped Alabama 85-65 in Newark, New Jersey. 16 points for Cooper Flagg in the victory. I'm Dexter Henry.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. I do want to make sure that we honor the women's NCAA tournament. I do know we have people that have been waiting patiently on the phone lines that want to talk about the men's NCAA tournament. Certainly what went down in the first half of the Elite Eight. Certainly we got 2 more games on the docket today. I should say later today. And I think the favorites in that is going to be Houston and Michigan State. Let's get to Kyle in Detroit. Kyle, appreciate the patience, man. How you doing? What you got for us?
Yo, good Shep. What's going on? So I just want to touch base with a potential Florida-Duke matchup in the final. I have a future for Florida. I really like them kind of coming in mid-February. I got them at 10-1, but I also kind of see your side and kind of with the dogs that Duke has. I'd just be curious, what your thoughts would be if that matchup played out. Because I feel like Elijah Martin, Will Richard, Walter Clayton,
Absolutely.
and then the rotation of bigs Florida has present potentially a problem for Duke. But I could also see Duke. Florida kind of has these sloppy starts that they've had in the tournament at times, and these little 5-10 minute lulls. I could see Duke kind of getting a lead and kind of holding on to it. I guess I was curious, what you think would be the kind of outcome of that matchup potentially.
So, Kyle, how much have you seen Kaman Molak play? The big man for Duke, freshman.
Oh, I mean, he's nice, and he's disruptive. He's obviously
That's their 4th best player.
No, 100%. I'm not anti-Duke by any means.
Right. I can't, to me, it's like what we saw from UConn in 2024. It's what we saw from Florida in 2007. There's just no one. It's what we saw from UNC, back in 2009. You just knew no one was going to beat this team, even if they have a C- game. They're just too deep and they got too much star power. I just can't see anyone playing with Duke. And even when you do, Duke knows how to win, whether it's by the margins, whether it's by 20, 30, 40 points, as we saw at the beginning of this tournament in the first round, and as we saw against Baylor when they won, I think, by 26. They're winning the NCAA. They're winning their games by 25 points per game in the NCAA tournament so far. I don't see anyone being able to top them, not even Florida. And it's been a great year for them. For them to go from being not only unranked 2 years ago when Tom Golden took over at first, but they were an under 500 team. People forget that. And he had 0 NCAA tournament wins prior to 2025. And you talk about a guy now making the Final Four. I mean, it's been an incredible run. And if they are lucky enough to get to the national championship, that's when their journey will end.
Sure. I mean, again, I'm not anti-Duke, and I agree with how impressive they've been for sure. Huge college hoop heads for sure. But I guess my kind of pushback to that, and I'm obviously biased, I want Florida to win.
Sure. Now that's interesting because you're calling from Detroit. I'm surprised you're not angling for Michigan State right now.
I love this MSU squad. I just feel like even against Auburn, and then if they did end up getting a matchup against Florida, I feel like I'm kind of like a big guard play guy. I feel like guard play wins out, and I feel like Florida, and you could argue Auburn might have a slight advantage, but Auburn's a little more up and down. I feel like a guard play. Where I feel like Florida has been more like stable.
It's going to be that's going to be a great matchup, and you talk about two alpha coaches between Pearl and Izzo. That's going to be fascinating. Kyle, I appreciate the phone call, man. You have a good rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the Elite Eight, okay?
Yes, sir. Likewise.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it, man. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We're going to take your calls on the other side, and Paige Bueckers dropping 40. We get to that on the other side as well. Chef on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's all right with me.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network, a.k.a. The Good Shepherd. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Great to have you aboard. However and wherever you may be listening from. You can always get us on SiriusXM Channel 375 if you happen to have SXM. You can always get us for free on the Odyssey app. You can also catch every single second of this show because we stream on YouTube. So if you're not a late riser or an early riser, God knows this is early or late depending on where part of the country you're in, like myself or Liam Flynn, you can certainly hit rewind on YouTube and get every single second of the show. You can do that 3 years after the fact. We'll still be here. Every single second of the show will be recorded. And so that is really cool about being on YouTube. You can always hit us up on the chat if you want to get in that way. Certainly, we talked a great deal about the amazing Houdini comeback that were the Florida Gators against Texas Tech. Talking about a role reversal, Texas Tech, they were the ones who upended Arkansas after being down 16 points in the Sweet 16. Unfortunately, role reversal, flip side, they're up 9, less than 3 minutes to go. Walter Clayton Jr., Thomas Howe, they were lights out from 3. 4 made threes down the stretch from Florida, and unfortunately, Texas Tech's last 3 came with more than 12 minutes remaining in the second half. They also couldn't buy a single free throw down the stretch as well. That always hurts. So that was the real exciting game we got in the Elite Eight. What was not exciting was Duke and Alabama, because Duke was just so far and away better than every team that Alabama had seen so far this year. And I understand the SEC is the juggernaut, mammoth, big bully on the block conference this year. Duke's the best team. Alabama found out the hard way. Their best offense is points in the paint. They were held to just 28. Their best feature of their game is their offense. They were held to less than 27 points below their average. Not exactly a great showing for Nate Oates and company, but no shame in losing to Duke. Every team has done that in the last 4 months, with the exception of one. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. I want to spend this first segment talking about Paige Bueckers, not just because of the iconic braids or because of her incredible playmaking skills. It's what she was able to accomplish in this Sweet 16 that has never been done in the history of UConn women's basketball. And we all know the names: Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart. I mean, we are talking the greatest women's basketball players to ever live, at least in that conversation. I have Cheryl Miller as the greatest player to ever live in terms of women's basketball. You can certainly make an argument for Diana Taurasi, and then you talk about the others that I just mentioned. They're in that conversation. Paige Bueckers just did something that no one else has ever accomplished in the history of that program. We will get to that. But before we do that, I want to honor people that have been patiently waiting on hold, that want to talk about the NCAA tournament. So let's get to Marshall in Milwaukee. Marshall, always good to hear from you, my friend. How you doing? Sorry it's not UNC, but I guess you got to take a little bit of a silver lining because at least Duke is getting to the Final Four?
Well, begrudgingly, yes. As Kenny Smith said the other day, it's that great team from Durham right now. So, it is what it is, and they were incredible tonight. I've said, and I told you the other night, I have respect for them. It's a great school, and we're both great schools, but it's hard to pull for each other. It's a rivalry, and sadly, Courtney's gals lost to them the other day too. 38 points. That was painful, but they still had a great year. She's a great coach, and she's a little bit of eye candy to us guys too, as well. So,
well, I don't watch it for that. Now, some people may. I watch it for the purity of the sport. So, for
I do too. I'm kind of just throwing that in there.
Yeah, you don't strike me as the Bill Belichick type.
Nope, but it was a terrific run, and the future's great. Our women's program's in tremendous hands right now, and it'll get better. But I just think right now, I'm going completely opposite on your games today. Florida was unbelievable. They are really, really good, and I have Duke and Florida as my final right now. But I'm kind of going opposite. Although you can make a case for any two of the four today. I've got Auburn and Tennessee today. However, if Izzo's defense, if he can get that game in his style, and he's very good at that, as we know, they certainly could beat Auburn. I mean, Auburn's been a little up and down,
a little bit. They lost 3 of their last 4 games heading into the NCAA tournament. A little bit up and down. They're giving games away left and right. I can't believe they were the number 1 overall seed.
Me neither. I think that should have been Duke. And but when they're on, they're incredible. And I think it's just going to be a key on who gets their tempo and who gets the style. And I think that Houston, Tennessee is just going to be a rock fight. I think that's going to be defense. I like Tennessee, but frankly, it could go either way. It may come down like Houston, Purdue did, to who gets the ball last and maybe hits a late shot or late free throw to win it. It's very close, but Duke is going to be very difficult to beat right now. They're so long. I mean, what they did to Alabama, what they did to Sears. I mean, Mark Sears, that's a guy we couldn't stop in the All-American last year.
Right, it's an All-American. Like, they held him to, I think they held him to 6 points on 2 of 14 shooting, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah,
like that's
just,
you saw. I know BYU is not Duke, but BYU is a really good team this year. Like it's not an accident they were in the Sweet 16, and he had 10 threes, and then came out with minutes remaining. Easily could have had the NCAA tournament record. He had 30 points alone on threes against BYU. He didn't even have double digits against Duke in 2 days later. So to me, what Duke did a really good job of was they obviously watched film, they did their homework, they said, we're going to pack them in the paint. We're going to have them beat us in the paint. We're going to take away what they did best last game. We're going to run them off the 3, and we're going to absolutely channel them to deal with our big man freshman, who's likely a lottery pick. And Alabama just had no answer. And even when they made a little bit of a run in the second half, Duke went on an 11-4 run, faster than you can say John Shire, and that was it.
Right.
And Marshall, it really not enough is said about this. Like, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to replace an institution like Mike Krzyzewski. I don't think, like, you saw it with Dean Smith. It took Bill Guthridge, then it took Matt Doherty. It took you 3 different hires to stop talking about Dean Smith. I mean, he's always going to be talked about in UNC lore. I get that. But to where, hey, he's not Dean Smith. We need Dean Smith. He's not Dean Smith. Like, that conversation went on for almost a decade until you got Roy Williams. The fact that Duke has seamlessly made this transition, and they are back in the Final Four in year 3 of John Shire's reign, and they don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. You talk about hitting a grand slam and hitting it out of the park. I mean, they've gone New York Yankees with this coaching hire. And there's a lot of people that felt like you can't go with John Steyer because he's got no head coaching experience.
Well, you look at head coaching experience, when you sit behind the next to one of the all-time greats, Mike Krzyzewski's on the Mount Rushmore, at least
without
mine.
question. There's not a Mount Rushmore. He's not on anyone's Mount Rushmore in terms of the best college basketball coaches of all time. The debate is always, is it him or John Wooden is the greatest men's coach ever?
Yeah, and my others are John Wooden, or Bobby Knight, and Dean Smith. And, you can have your opinions about them, but what they all four had in common, and I've been privileged to have seen all of them in my lifetime. In my young years, I saw John Wooden toward the end, but what they all had is not only were they great coaches, they got good players, yes. They developed great people, and they were innovators. They innovated. They invented things.
Motion offense with Bob Knight. Absolutely.
As I like to joke, Shep, it was so good. A restaurant in Chapel Hill was named for about 25 to 30 years after it. So when you get that treatment, you've had an impact. And what Krzyzewski did, I'll give him credit on this. Outside of maybe Rick Pitino, he was ahead of the game on getting the three ball going. And boy, we felt our wrath. A certain game in 2012 in the Smith Center comes to mind that broke my heart. But the threes they were raining in that day were incredible, and we were a reluctant dragon coming into that move. We always have had the big guys and maybe a three-point shooter here and there, but we've had the bigs. And, that game was such a contrast in styles, Shep. That's what made it great, even though I went to bed very heartbroken that night. But that's part of the rivalry. Is Tom Petty, the great Tom Petty, used to say,
Marshall,
learning to fly, it's going to steal. Life can steal your crown and break your heart sometimes.
You're on such a flow right now that you're giving me an opportunity to peek at that YouTube chat, and you were getting praise left and right, man. They're like, damn, this guy.
Thank you.
This guy can talk basketball. So good on you, man. Always good to hear from Marshall. Continue to be good. And enjoy the rest of this Elite Eight, man. We'll talk soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Later on this year, we will talk tennis.
Yeah, that's right. Let's have Coco Gauff win a second slam, for God's sakes. And listen,
how about Jessica Pegula in Miami?
She's got to break. Yeah, I know, but she's got to break through with the slams, though. Like if Madison Keys can do it, so can Jessica Pegula. And I got to tell you, I am so bored watching Yannick Sinner. I mean, I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather get a root canal at the dentist. I am not exaggerating. He is the most boring superstar athlete ever. I mean, I agree with you. Like he makes Tim Duncan look like Dennis Rodman. I'm just saying. Marshall, always good to talk to you, brother. Be well. We'll talk soon.
God bless and take care.
Thanks, Marshall. You do the same, man. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's go from one friend of the show to the other. Haven't heard from this gentleman in a while. James, how we doing, man? How you feeling?
Hey, what's up, Shep? How you doing, brother?
No complaints, man. I tell you what, I'm not trying to poke fun at this guy. I'm doing better than Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. But I wanted to talk about UCLA, man, because on the women's side, I'm not really that hip to women's basketball, but I'm a Bruins guy. So when I found out that they were like number one, I know. What's her name? Don Staley was complaining that they were the lower number one seed. So I want to see if she has bite behind that bark and see what she's going to do. Because I know, she's a great coach.
Yes, she is.
And you saw what she did against what's her name last year, the last couple of years.
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark. Yeah. I'm kind of lost on that.
Well, I tell you what, the UCLA Bruins, y'all have won by at least 14 points every single game, and you're obviously facing Kim Mulkey, in LSU, and God knows she has a glare as bad as anybody in college basketball. So that's going to be a fascinating matchup. But we're talking about Kim Mulkey. I'm pretty sure she's won 4 national titles. So that's I know Staley's won 3. Because I know Kim Mulkey. I think she won 3 at Baylor. Obviously, she won 1 with Angel Reese a couple of years ago. 4 NCAA titles. Yeah. So So that's gonna. If you guys can get by LSU, that's gonna be a hell of an accomplishment because, like, quite frankly, when you think of UCLA, you're not thinking of the women's program. You're thinking of the men's program. So for them to be so effective and winning by double digits every single game, it's an impressive feat so far in this NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And UCLA's coach now, does she have any accolades like that, or is she just like a up and comer, or I really don't know, man.
So why are you asking me? Why are you trying to put me on? If you don't know, what am I? The sports encyclopedia? I gotta know all. I gotta know every single coach in every single tournament. Listen, I'm not.
You know the women's game.
Listen,
you know the women's game.
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I've heard. I know the name Corey Close. I think that's the coach. I could not tell you two things about her. I could not because, and in fairness to me, what has UCLA done? Like they've never made a Final Four under her. So I can't.
Right, I know.
I mean, it's tough enough keeping track of like all the changes in the men's division. Like shout out to the person that tweeted about me about Kevin Willard. Yeah, I think he's a putz. I think he's someone that's trying to leverage himself at the podium and holding like Maryland's management like to task and trying to chop them at the knees and trying to negotiate his next deal, which is likely Villanova. It's bad enough I got to keep track of that. I couldn't tell you anything about Corey Close. Liam, have you ever heard of Corey Close?
I have now.
Well, I understand that, but
no. But before this, no.
Yeah, you have no idea who that is, right? Yeah, James. I am telling you, man. Like I know Lindsey Gottlieb. Like I know Dawn Staley. I know the major Kim Mulkey, Gino Auriemma, obviously. I know the major, Brenda Fries at Maryland. I know the major names in women's basketball. Corey Close is at, and I know the Oregon coach only because we follow each other on Twitter. So yeah.
See, and I think that even the USC coach is probably more famous. When Juju got hurt, I heard about that.
Well, she called the play not dirty. Yeah, she did. She did a solid by the opposing team. She called the play not dirty. And by the way, how about an inspired effort, man, without Juju Watkins for USC to get through to the Elite Eight, man? That's awesome.
I'm a Bruins fan, but I give them credit. I give them their little flowers and everything. Hey, California, as long as they're representing out here on the West Coast, is good.
James, do me a favor. I want you to ask other hosts on the Infinity Sports Network what the head coach of the UCLA women's program is. If they know it, I will owe you the biggest apology I guarantee you it will be like 0 for 15 if you ask people who the head coach of UCLA is. She's done.
I hit up. I go Jody Mack, JR, and then I like Perkoff and Maggie. I think.
Who?
When I get up in the morning.
Wait, who?
What are their names?
Perkoff?
I don't know.
You like him so much you don't even know his name. It's Andrew Perloff.
I forgot, man. I wake up in the morning.
Formerly known as McLovin. Can I tell you something very interesting, James? I know you didn't ask for this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I kid you not. I had a dream that I was sitting like to the seat. I don't think you have access to YouTube while you're calling me, but I was sitting in the seat right next to my right. Maggie was here. Perloff was there. EJ Stewart was here. AJ's their executive producer. He does a wonderful job for them. And then Mike Francesa walked in the room, and at the time, it was actually the Good Shepherd hours. So Maggie and Perloff liked what they heard so much that they came in early to the studio, and they wanted to be a part of the conversation, and that meant the world to me because I got nothing but love for Maggie and Perloff. Like they do a great job here. They do a wonderful job with the YouTube chat. Like they've really held down mornings, and they've replaced DA. Which is not easy to do because DA is a legend in our business. And Maggie and Perloff, they've done a wonderful job. But the legend of all legends in our industry, Mike Francesa, walked into the studio, and I just, my jaw hit the floor. And I couldn't believe it. And I was, going back and forth with Mike Francesa about college basketball. And he knew everything, probably even the UCLA women's head coach, by the way. And and so that was a dream that I had. So I'm glad you brought up Maggie and Perloff because I literally was thinking about them, when I went to bed last night. So yeah, that's
man.
Cool.
I woke up about a month ago and I heard his voice. I was like, "Is this the guy from the Dan Patrick Show?"
Yes.
And I called him up.
Yeah,
And
hey,
he's
by
like,
the way,
I don't know what
James,
you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
How do you feel
and I
about
said, what's your name? Oh, I told him, what's your name? McMuffin or something like that?
McMuffin?
And they
No,
all got a big kick out of it.
McLovin, not McMuffin.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew it was something like that.
I will, if you ever call that show and say, Maggie and McMuffin, how you doing? I will lose.
Yeah.
I will lose my bleep. I will fall over in a chair, and I don't think I'll recover for the next hour if I hear James in L.A. calling Maggie and Perloff and saying, "Hey, Maggie and McMuffin, how you doing?" I will lose it. I will lose it.
Hey, I got one more question for you. I'll let you go. I know you got other people.
Sure.
I know you got a love-hate relationship with LeBron, and I really don't like the way he's carried himself. Like I said, I'm a Kobe guy, always will be.
Same.
That's my guy. But Kobe's not. LeBron until Kobe's not. Rest in peace, Kobe. So I'm going to deal with what I deal with. He won one in the bubble and everything. But I told you before, and I think we both agree with that he just doesn't seem real to me. He seems fake. And you can say what you want about Stephen A. Smith. I think when he said, I know things about LeBron that why wasn't he able to speak at Kobe's funeral?
He wasn't. But let's be very clear about that. He wasn't asked to speak. I think he wanted to speak. He wasn't asked.
I think he wanted to speak, and they told him no.
Yeah, well, Vanessa told him, because here's the thing, they didn't get. It's not that they hated each other, but they didn't have a close relationship. Like
exactly.
And listen,
he tried to pretend like it was more than it was. Because he dedicated the season to him.
Right.
We're going to do this for Kobe.
Right.
Go in the bubble.
Well, in fairness, it did work. Well, they need to dedicate more seasons to Kobe because they haven't been back to a final since.
Well, this year might be different. Now we got Luka, man.
Wait, Luka's on the Lakers. Wait a minute. No, stop out. Luka's on the Lakers now.
Oh yeah.
You don't say?
Oh yeah. You got the trade. I'll take it for the future. We may not win this year, but.
Yeah,
like I said, my thing is always LeBron's going to retire pretty soon.
Well, I will tell you this.
I think KD's going to fill that spot.
No. I think LeBron. I think LeBron plays as long as KD. And James, thank you for the phone call, man. It's always a pleasure to go.
Always love you, man.
Always love you going back and forth with you too, James. Be well, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. No, I think my biggest takeaway from that interview was LeBron James is going to be playing with two sons. That was my takeaway. He could have shut it down. He could have said, that's not happening. He didn't. He left the door open. That's something, like, he always wants to one-up the next person. Like, he is such an aficionado when it comes to sports history. I mean, you listen to him talk, he doesn't just know basketball. He knows a lot about the NFL, and he knows a lot about the MLB. And the reason he knows a lot about the MLB, besides being a sports savant, is he pays attention to what happens in terms of legacies. And one of those legacies is Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. Well, before Ken Griffey Jr., it's after Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr., we've never had a father-son share a stage in professional sports in North America. LeBron is the first to do that in 35 years. What LeBron would like to do is do that with two of his sons. And then, what more can you say? What more can you say about a guy that was so good for so long that he didn't just end up playing with one son, but he played with two of them? And we all know he's still going to be better than both of the sons, even while he's 42, 43 years old. So I think that's very much on the table. Liam, before we get to break, man, that was a big-time interview. Pat McAfee and LeBron James. I'm still in shock that you're 20. I'll get over it. But with that being said, for you, what was your big takeaway from LeBron talking to McAfee?
The fact that he actually did it. To see LeBron go out and not be in a controlled environment. Like, he's not running the show. But I think Pat McAfee is one of the only guys, not only in sports media, but just in media in general, where you're going to his studio, you're doing his thing. There's no way to weave out of it. He's got all of his guys with him. I mean, for me, I honestly just can't. And when I saw that notification that LeBron James was going to be in the studio for an hour with Pat McAfee,
Who did you grow up watching?
As in what?
As in sports media, who did you consume? Was it First Take? Was it PTI?
No.
Around the Horn? Was it Infinity Sports Network, which was once CBS Sports Radio? Was it WFAN?
WFAN for me. Yeah.
Okay, so now you didn't grow up on Mike and the Mad Dog though.
No, a little late for Mike and the Mad Dog.
Right. So what were you? Boomer and Carton?
Boomer and Carton. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Francesa Solo in the afternoons.
Sure.
Yeah, those are my two. Going to school, Boomer and Carton. On the way home, Francesa.
So what I respect about, especially Francesa, what I respect about Mike is that he, and obviously for anyone who doesn't know, Mike Francesa he's a radio legend. He's someone that, was holding down the fort afternoons on WFAN, which is our New York affiliate for Odyssey, and he was doing that for the better part of 30 years. Now, Mike would ask questions, and he would sometimes ask hard questions, and he wasn't doing it to be antagonistic. He wasn't doing it to be a thorn in someone's side. He was doing it because he understood that's what the audience really wanted to hear, and they can't all be softballs. They can't all be, kissing the ass of your guest and subject just because you don't want to say something that rubs them the wrong way. That Pat McAfee, LeBron James discussion was trash. It was garbage. It was garbage. It was just a stroking of the let's call it ego and keep it professional. It was a stroking of LeBron's ego for the better part of an hour and 10 minutes. That's all it was. It wasn't journalism. It wasn't an interview. It wasn't hard-hitting questions and facts and a real, genuine, organic back and forth. It was LeBron saying whatever he wanted, going after whoever he wanted. And the worst part about that is LeBron's attacking people that Pat works with, that Pat is employed with, that is our teammates of Pat. Now, last time I checked, he was a really good punter. Now, people can make jokes about that all they want. He was still an NFL player and was an all-pro at that. You have an obligation when you work for an organization to, at the very least, if your house is being attacked, you got to stand by that and stick up for that. He didn't do that. Not once. I lost a lot of respect for Pat McAfee. Listen, he gets big yes. I'm never going to deny that. He does a really unique show. He's obviously immensely talented, but all he does is just kiss the ass of anyone who comes on his show and asks nothing that is penetrable, nothing that is hard-hitting, nothing that is really meaningful. I want to talk about this on the other side because I know we're up against it. But if you saw the Pat McAfee, LeBron James interview, number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Did you find that to be a good, thought-provoking, entertaining, must-listen conversation? I thought it was trash. What say you? Speaking of something that's not trash, we're going to get to your calls on McAfee and LeBron. We'll talk about that a little bit, but I also want to show some love to the women's NCAA tournament because Paige Bueckers, she came to play. So much more to do on the Good Shepherd. You can always follow me at Shep on Air. You can always get us on our YouTube chat. If you can't hit us up on our busy phone lines at 888-710-4ISN, that's 888-710-4476. And per usual, we're always coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Thanks for taking my call, Shep. I was pleasantly surprised as I was making my drive home from work to hear you covering for Bart. Always awesome to hear you at the helm.
This is the Good Shepherd.
All right, I'm going to come back with a wrap because you're going to be playing Welcome to Miami. Now, people didn't like this yesterday, Liam, so you're going to be the real judge, jury and executioner here, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So Will Smith likes to go to Oscars, likes to slap Chris Rock.
Yeah.
You know why? Because his stock is going to go down. All I know is I see Will Smith and I frown. I used to look at him like he's cool in a gown, but all I know is now people think he's a clown. Sitting here watching John Q. All I know is I like to think my due. Yes, my hair is okay. I know that I need, some kind of product, and I'll say have a nice day. All right.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, I'm not writing any of this stuff out. It's all off the top of the dome.
Off the dome.
Exactly.
Now, Will Smith just put out a new record. First album in a long time.
Did he now?
Did you? Yeah. I believe it was this Friday.
You know what I think he has to do? And he's welcome to come on this show, by the way. Oh, you don't know this. So I'm trying to get LeBron on the show.
Okay.
I'm continuously trying. I'm not hearing back from his people. Because he's all about, the media covering the game. Not the drama, not the histrionics, not the in-between stuff, not the, beef. He wants to just cover the game. So you can't say that, Liam, when you have national credible people, and I am one of those people. You can't say that. And then when you have someone that wants to engage in that particular coverage that you want, then not get back to them. That's how I feel about that. So I believe LeBron is the ultimate hypocrite because he just doesn't want to get shown up. That's what it comes down to. See, he's okay talking about other people's drama, but what he's not okay with is if you call him out on his drama.
So he can dish it, but he can't take it.
Exactly. It's well said. To me, Will Smith has to do a long-form interview if he really wants to get back in people's good graces. Not to say that he can't make box office films, because he can. You know, it's long enough that people have kind of forgotten about it, but that's always going to be on the forefront of people's minds when you think of Will Smith these days. Even now, he's got to do a real interview. He really does. It can't be like a public apology where like it's someone from his team asking him questions on YouTube, and that's what he's doing to make this apology tour come to fruition. It can't be him going on Trevor Noah's show where they talk about that for like a minute and a half and then 20 minutes about his film Emancipation. Would you agree with that?
I would. Now my question is, there's no more Barbara Walters. Who is going to?
She's unfortunately passed, and in terms of her in the media, she retired in 2011.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So who's going to do this interview? And you.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I know you don't know me that well, but you know I can handle myself with Will Smith.
I think so, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would ask him questions that most people would want answers for. I would show him respect because he's done incredible things with his career. Make no mistake about that. But he does need to actually sit across someone that doesn't have an agenda, that just wants to help him, that really wants to understand what he was thinking, what he was doing, and why he thought in any level that was okay. And has he made a continuous effort to want to reach out to Chris Rock and truly make sure that he's good with him? Because I just think that's always going to be holding over Will Smith's career. It's always going to be hovering around him. It's like the elephant in the room that he never really addressed. He only kind of did it on his terms and not really in an organic, reputable way. So that's what I would like to see for Will Smith. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Going to certainly give some love to Paige Bueckers. I do have Gilberto that has been waiting on hold for quite some time. So Gilberto, always good to hear from you, brother. I did not forget about the Champions League, right? That I'm going to watch in April at some point. I want you to hold me to that. But in the meantime, man, how you doing, brother? And what you got for us?
Muy bien, David. ¿Tú cómo estás?
Muy bien. Muchas gracias.
Qué bueno. Listen, I was listening. I've been listening to the show, and I came with an interview between LeBron James and Pat McAfee the other day, and I was surprised. And the history of LeBron James with ESPN goes back to the decision and before that.
With Jim Gray, absolutely. And then obviously them telecasting his high school games nationally when he was speaking to Bill Walton, the late great Bill Walton, and Dick Vitale.
That's right. So he knows the bigger picture. Obviously, he's an asset for them. He's an asset for the NBA. And Pat McAfee has always interviewed softly everybody. The proof is Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
interview softly is one way to put it. I would say more like stroking other people's just to get them to keep talking and coming back and paying them.
Yeah, and Pat McAfee has come a long way from being only on YouTube.
Yes.
And then getting the big deals, and now with ESPN and keeping his partners and everybody. So I do respect what he's done, and he's true to what he is. He's not going to ruffle any feathers. And for me, LeBron James came out on the plus side because you saw the other side of him that you never see.
Interesting.
And he was, he was ratifying. I mean, he did attack Stephen A. Smith, and that's an issue that is in between them. And I never really follow Stephen A. Smith because he's too loud, but he's a very intelligent person.
Absolutely.
And he knew what he was doing. So at the end of the day, it's entertainment, I think. And both of them came up on top. For whichever side you go, both of them are, not more famous now, but they're in more people's minds in a different way.
Yeah,
and
Gilberto, I see it a little differently than you. I get the mindset for a lot of people these days is when you're being talked about, whether positively or negatively, it's only a good thing for your brand because all publicity is great publicity, right? And so,
yes.
But I do think when you're someone like Stephen A. Smith and you're someone like LeBron James, who are both titans in their respective professions, I think this is stooping low for both of them, and it's beneath both of their dignity and resume for them to get attention by beefing. And like I know this happens in the rap game a lot, and I know it happens in like entertainment. I get that, but I just think there's certain people, like for example, if Denzel was beefing with like Viola Davis, right, or Daniel Day-Lewis was beefing with Meryl Streep, or Bruce Springsteen was beefing with Elton John or Sir Paul McCartney, you would look at this like, what are they doing? Like, they're so incredibly hyper successful in what they've done. They've impacted millions, if not billions, of people. Why are they stooping to this level? What are they gaining from this? They don't need this kind of attention. So I hear what you're saying. We're talking about them. I get it, but I do think when you reach that kind of status, you don't want to be talked about in that kind of light.
Well, LeBron has been carrying for years the image of building super teams to win, never really developing anybody. Just being in a place and get me the players so I can win.
Yeah.
So that's his mantra at the end of the day. And what you were saying about his two sons, one of the things that the Griffiths never did was play in the playoffs. And he's going to get to do that.
Great point. Great point. And yeah, there's not a chance Bronny will be left off the playoff roster. Not a chance.
No.
And you know that great nugget that you just spewed our way. You know LeBron James is aware of that because he is a genius, man. Like when you listen to him talk about not just sports but like what's going on in society, like the fact that this cat had no college education whatsoever and is one of the most well-spoken individuals you will ever come across. That is pure intelligence. That is just pure IQ. For him to be able to process information and be able to articulate it in such a way like he's a professional journalist, that's amazing. And, it's incredible because he grew up in a one-parent, household. He comes from the project, Section 8 housing.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to do what he's done, and that's why I think it is, and look, Gilberto, if I'm being really honest with this, here's how I look at it. I do think there's a racial element to it. Like, I don't think it's good that two African Americans, honestly, who are so highly, just talked about and dissected, I don't think it's a good look that they're going at each other like this. I'm going to be real about it,
Well, they're independent people, and they're both very successful. And LeBron James might not have gone to college, but he's way more educated than a lot of people that have been in college.
You can say that again. I don't know if he's as educated as you, Gilberto, because you're one of the most educated people we have on the Infinity Sports Network, buddy. Great to go back and forth with you as always, my friend. You be well. We'll talk soon. Enjoy the rest of the Elite Eight, okay?
Thank you. You too. Keep having fun.
Thank you, Gilberto. It's a great day for Dodger baseball. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. We did not forget about the women's NCAA tournament. We will give Paige Bueckers her flowers on the other side. Certainly continue to take your calls. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest sports flash. Here is Dexter Henry.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Alrighty, Dave. Cooper, Flag, and Duke, they continue to look strong in March, and on Saturday, the team, they punched their ticket to the Final Four.
Far side of the floor, Proctor's got it. Back to Flag, shot clock down to 10. And Flag lost his footing, but dribbled his way right back up again. Spinning now to the lane, shot up and good! Cooper Flag sends Duke to the 11-0 run. 76-58. Alabama with under 3 to go.
Spiro Ditas with the call on Westwood One Radio. Flag's layup had the Blue Devils in complete control, 16 points, 9 boards, and 3 assists for Flag. But mostly impressive for Duke was the team's defense as they shut down the #1 offense in the nation. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they failed to score 70 points for only the second time this season as they fell to Duke 85-65 in the East Regional Final. The Blue Devils are now playing in their 18th Final Four. We go over to the West Regional Final where Florida had an amazing comeback in the second half.
Here's Hauk above the left elbow. Get it back to Clayton. Back up top to Hauk. Hauk stops, thought about the three, toss it back out to Clayton. Clayton dribbling over on the left wing, matched against Arian Williams. He'll jump the three for the tie. It's good! Knotted up! 75 apiece. 1:45 to go. 9-0 Gator run.
That's Ryan Radke on Westwood One with the call. Walter Clayton Jr. drained 3 of his game-high 30 points, got his Gators back in the game, and his team would complete a late turnaround. Florida rallied from 9 points down late to beat Texas Tech 84-79. In other college hoops news, St. John's star R.J. Lewis Jr. is declaring for the 2025 NBA draft and entering the transfer portal. The Big East Player of the Year is expected to make at least $1.5 million in NIL earnings if he opts to return to college basketball next season. In golf, third round of the Houston Open, and Min Woo Lee with a 4-shot lead at 17 under after a 7 under 63 on Saturday. I'm Dexter Henry.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Shep is a great guy, and he actually has very, very great knowledge that's impeccable on sport, period. Yeah, he's a great guy. I love Shep.
This is The Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. This is The Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Just want to remind everybody this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Someone who certainly was available in all states in terms of her greatness being on full display was Paige Bueckers. In the Sweet 16 against Oklahoma, she dropped a career-high 40 points. And you talk about single-handedly turning that game around. This is a 3-point deficit that UConn actually had going into the second half against Oklahoma. They end up routing them 82-59, and the reason they were able to do that was because Paige Bueckers outscored Oklahoma 29-23 by herself. And listen, we understand that this is the ultimate legendary program in women's college basketball. For Paige Bueckers to become the first women's UConn player ever with 40 points in an NCAA tournament game just tells you how special this contest was for her. Also matching her career high with 6 career-made threes. And she could have gotten to 50 the way she was cooking, but they were beating Oklahoma so bad that Gino Auriemma took her out with more than 3 minutes to play. Obviously, Caitlin Clark has garnered a lot of the attention for women's college basketball the past couple of years. But remember, before Caitlin Clark, it was Paige Bueckers who was the player of the year. You love her journey because, it's not just the skill set. It's not just the brand with those, iconic braids. She was the it factor. She was the golden child 4 years ago in college basketball. But she had 2 really unfortunate seasons. One, she was out entirely with the torn ACL in 2022, 2023, and it's been completely, derailed and marred by injuries. So for her to be back in the spotlight, scoring 74 points, over the past 2 games in the women's NCAA tournament, that's the most points in a 2-game stretch by anyone not named Caitlin Clark. UConn certainly looking to make it 14 straight when they go up against a very inspired USC team when they play against each other in the Elite Eight. But for now, we got to show a lot of love to Paige Bueckers. And this is courtesy of SNY. What the heck got into you and what drove you so much in this particular win?
Honestly, we just wanted to keep our season going as long as possible. We all love playing together. We love playing here. We just love this program and everything it means. So we wanted to keep going as long as possible. And we knew we were getting good shots in the first half. Stuff wasn't dropping. So we just wanted to stay consistent in the looks that we were getting and how we were getting them.
With that 40-point effort, she becomes the 4th all-time leading scorer in the history of UConn basketball. Imagine how high she would be on this particular list if she wasn't having a career full of injury, at least for that 2-year stretch. So good for her for bouncing back. there's no harder coach on players than Gino Auriemma. There was certainly an interesting, back and forth with Coach Auriemma, kind of inspiring her and kind of poking and prodding her to give it a little bit more of an effort. And that second half, 29 points in the first 16 minutes, that certainly would apply. Here was her talking about her interaction with the legendary 11-time winning national champion Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, just an everyday interaction between Coach and Paige. Him getting on me, him holding me accountable. I did have some mental lapses and some mental mistakes that I can't have at this point of the season. Obviously taking them, but not letting them affect me in a negative way, affecting me in a positive way to not make those mental mistakes again and turn it up a notch.
I'm telling you, folks, this is a very special basketball player. She sees the floor like a Magic Johnson type player. That's her game. She's just so intelligent. She is so skilled, and she's putting it all together at the right time for UConn. And I highly, highly encourage anybody during the week, especially when the men's tournament's not going on, which you see take place on Monday and Tuesday, for the women's tournament, check out Paige Bueckers. She's unbelievable, obviously going against the Juju Watkins-less USC team for a chance to get to a Final Four. Cannot wait for that. When we get back, there was some historic baseball Saturday news. We get to that next. Shep on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you can lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day.
Back to the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you. Hour number 3 of the Good Shepherd right here on the Infinity Sports Network channel, 375 on Sirius XM. And you can always get us for free on the Odyssey app. You can get us for free on our YouTube channel as well. You can catch every single second of our show that way, and you can certainly interact with us. If you don't want to call us on the busy phone lines at 888-710-4ISN, that's 888-710-4476. And we spend a lot of time, the first couple hours of the show talking everything NCAA tournament, and certainly highlighting again what most people believe was the biggest story of this week. Not MLB opening week, not the NCAA tournament, March Madness, but Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James. Want to spend some time this particular hour talking about the state of baseball and MLB opening week. You got 5 undefeated teams so far. 1 in the American League, that being the Yankees. They certainly made history on Saturday. We'll get to that this hour. You got 4 teams that are undefeated in the National League. The Phillies, the Cardinals, the Padres, who are actually starting the season on the right note, and then the Dodgers at 5-0. The Dodgers are the first World Series defending champions to start the very next season 5-0. They are the quintessential definition of the rich continue to get richer, and that is apparent with, again, a team that does not look like they are going to be slowed down this year for 1 second. The 103 win total that odds makers have them at, I think, is entirely too low. I want to highlight what the Yankees did on Saturday because we may never see that again in our lifetime. Before we do that, let's get to Alan in Wisconsin. I know he wants to talk some NCAA tournament. Alan, want to reward your patience, man. Go ahead. What you got for us, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Shep?
Good. Alan, how are you?
Pretty good. I think 2 things could eventually derail the NCAA tournament. One is, I think, if players start to treat it like how college football players treat it, where they don't want to play in the bowl games to whatever risk injury, because there's a lot more games in the tournament than there are in the as opposed to a bowl game. That's one thing, and the other is I guess we'd have to see the numbers from Vegas from this year and next year, because if it's going to be all chalk, you're basically taking all the long shots off the board, right, because you're not going to have those 3,000 to 1 odds teams. You're not going to get money on those teams. And if all the teams that are going to have the money play are going to be, all even across the board in terms of odds, that's not, everybody likes parity until it comes to putting money on it. You know what I mean? Because you can't make money on parity.
What I don't understand is, from an NIL perspective in the transfer portal, how easy it is for a coach to re-up, retool, rebuild in 1 year. Why it's so chalk heavy this year as opposed to other years, when we're used to seeing 15 seeds knock off a 2 seed, or we're used to seeing a double-digit seed make a Final Four run. We haven't even seen a double-digit seed make it past the Sweet 16 And the only double-digit seed that we saw get to the Sweet 16 was John Calipari's team, who we know is better than what their seed suggests.
I think it's because of the boosters, the coffers that they have. It's now that it's legal. All the alumni that have the money from those bigger schools are just making it easy to basically overspend like a GM.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, Alan. This NCAA tournament, it doesn't have a lot of sizzle. It doesn't really even have a lot of substance. There's not a lot of madness going on. There was more madness this week in the NBA than there was in college basketball. That Lakers-Bulls game, I don't know if you got wind of what happened with Josh Giddey with the 47-point halftime buzzer beater. That, to me, was March Madness more than we've ever seen anything this year in college basketball. So, they got some things to figure out. They really do. I don't think NIL is working, and I definitely don't think for 1 second this transfer portal is any good, because you're not getting great matchups, because there's not a lot of continuity, there's not a lot of familiarity. So that's why you're seeing so many blowouts, because there's some teams that are playing 3-4 years together, and there's other teams that are just putting together 9 different transfers and hoping that creates somewhat of a sound product, and it just doesn't.
Right, and then on top of it, you got to remember the reason these tournaments even expanded was because they wanted to have the little guy have a chance. So if you're basically by what's going on now is you've basically cut the little guy off, so it's right back to where you are having just the powerhouses, and the little guys are basically just there for fodder for round of 64, round of 32.
Yeah. And Rick Pitino can't be doing a celebratory victory lap, and getting knocked out in the second round. That doesn't help anyone either. Alan, good phone call, man. You enjoy the rest of your morning. Enjoy the rest of the Elite Eight, okay?
All right, thanks, you too.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate that, man. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. All right. We saw something in Major League Baseball that you will likely never see again in your lifetime. 3 home runs on the first 3 pitches of a baseball game. That has never happened before. It was Paul Goldschmidt. Maybe the Yankees need to use him as a leadoff guy more often, followed by Cody Bellinger, followed by the reigning AL MVP, Aaron All Rise, Here Comes the Judge. We, of course, start this with Paul Goldschmidt. And, of course, you will hear everything on the Yankees radio network, also known as WFAN, the iconic WFAN. This is how the game got started. And it, of course, came against a Yankee friend at one point who was with us, not so much anymore as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers. This is unfortunately off of Nestor Cortez. Let's take a listen to the first home run.
First pitch swung on, a high fly ball. Deep left center field. Carry, goodbye! Home run for Goldie! His first as a Yankee into the bullpen, and the Yankees have a 1-0 lead.
But wait, there's more. This is Cody Bellinger getting in the act as well.
Here is Belly, high drive, right center field. They're looking up, that baby's out of here. It's 2-0 Yankees. Cody Bellinger with his first homer as a New York Yankee, and the Yankees are touching up Nestor Cortez.
Yeah, I mean that's Dave Sims. I mean that's a pretty excited Dave Sims right there. And so you have Goldie going deep. You got Belly going deep. I love the nicknames that he's giving these guys already in his first year as the voice of the Yankees. But then Aaron Judge, Mr. 62 home run man himself, he doesn't want left out of the action.
You can tell the fans want Judge to get a piece of this action. First pitch, he swings, deep drive, left field, no doubt about it. Aaron Judge way upstairs. It's 3-0 Yankees.
That was incredible, man. Look, Aaron Judge was lights out in this game. 3 home runs, 4 runs, including a grand slam, career high 8 RBIs. Aaron Judge was vintage Judge in this game, where he put up in one game where most guys will never even have those kind of numbers in 1 week. And in the 6th inning, he was about 2 feet shy of becoming the 19th member of the 4 home run game club. That's the most home runs ever hit in the history of Major League Baseball. What we do know is that no team has ever started a game going back to back to back in home runs on 3 pitches. when we think of 3 home runs and 3 pitches, most people, myself included, even though I wasn't necessarily alive, we always resort back to 1977 Game 6, Reggie Jackson, a.k.a. Mr. October, versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. That was the closest thing that you will ever see to what took place in 1977 with Reggie Jackson, when many people will argue that's the most incredible feat ever taken place in a championship performance. And that was amazing what the Yankees did. I guess they need to play in more 78-degree March weather games. That was incredible. And Nestor Cortez, man, 5 of the homers that the Yankees hit of their 9 came off a familiar Yankee that they were seeing last year as a teammate. We all know, unfortunately, he was the disaster in Game 1 in a relief effort. Dodgers' Freddie Freeman, hits that walk-off, and basically that was the Dodgers World Series from that point forward. Cortez left the ballpark without speaking to reporters, and the Brewers want to, let you know it was a miscommunication. There's no miscommunication about that. If I give up 5 home runs, I don't want to speak to anybody either. The Yankees didn't just have 5 home runs. They had 9. That is a franchise record. This is a team that we all know is the most successful team in the history of North American professional sports, with 27 World Series and counting. And to me, the Yankees do not like the fact that they got gentlemen swept last year in the 2024 World Series by the Dodgers, and they got the eye on the Dodgers right now, and they want to make sure that they are back in the World Series Fall Classic, not getting beat by the Dodgers. And everyone has the Dodgers winning the World Series again. Obviously, they're a 104-team favorite at this point in terms of wins. That's 10 more than anyone else. The Braves are second, I believe, with 93. Dodgers look to be on that trajectory, winning 5 straight to get out of the gate and start the season. But Yankees have plans as well to be there when it's all said and done. Again, Aaron Judge was just 2 feet shy of hitting 4 home runs in a Yankee uniform in one game. This is his 40th multiple home run game of his career, and the 14 total bases on Saturday now give him 16 through the first 2 games of this season. That is the most total bases by any player in the history of Major League Baseball in the first 2 games of any respective individual's season. So I think it's fair to say he's got a 3rd MVP in mind. And while, again, you're not proud of what happened against the Dodgers last year, this is certainly how you get started. Aaron Boone, I know you've never seen anything like this before, because no one has ever seen anything like this before, whether it's the Yankees or any other Major League Baseball franchise. What do you have to say about what you just witnessed on Saturday? And this, of course, is courtesy of the Yes Radio Network.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw Reggie here today. He's 3 homers and 3 pitches, right, in the World Series, so maybe it was that.
No, but seriously, try to explain it.
That was punch in the mouth right there. And then, Judgy's on the third pitch, hitting it where he hit it. So, it was definitely a rocket situation, and so good to see the guy swing the bat like that, obviously.
Yeah, speaking of the Yankee captain, Aaron Judge, you've done some special things in the Yankee uniform. I think if you retire, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know you want that elusive ring that you can't quite seem to get, something the Yankees can't quite seem to get since 2009. But you will take a performance like this from your team. You will take 20 runs in 8 innings, and you certainly got to like the approach that you had on Saturday as well.
Just trying to be on time. That's the biggest thing. You're on time, ready to hit, and especially we got all the traffic on the bases. Guys in front of me are getting on base. It makes my job easy.
So that was the history in the good sense that took place in Major League Baseball on Saturday. There was some not so good history, and it was in the same division. So the Yankees are obviously the only undefeated team in the American League so far. It's a short, 2-game stretch, but it's undefeated nonetheless. The Red Sox, they right now are the bottom dwellers of the American League East, and it doesn't help that Rafael Devers is doing his best David Shepard impression in the majors. And when I say that, it's because I would likely have the same amount of productivity as Rafael Devers right now, because he became the first Major League player to strike out 10 times in the first 3 games of a Major League Baseball season. He was 0-4 with 3 more strikeouts on Saturday, and of course it resulted, unfortunately, in a loss to the Texas Rangers by a score of 4-3. And including his last at-bat in the 9th inning when it was a swing and a miss, he obviously did his best Carlos Beltran impression. Mets fans obviously get that reference. Though he did draw a bases-loaded walk, that's not what people are going to be talking about when it comes to Rafael Devers. The 10 strikeouts through 3 games. It broke the previous record, which was 9. Now, this record has been getting tracked now since 1901. This is not the side of history that you want to be on. There was much made about Devers being moved to the DH position following the acquisition of Alex Bregman, a move that at the time, the longtime third baseman wasn't exactly so, amicable for, but he did it being the team guy that he is. Friday's loss, man, he shrugged off the notion that this is the reason for a slow start. It ain't helping. And it's interesting because Red Sox manager Alex Cora, he actually addressed this right before the season, him moving to DH. I guarantee you he's probably not going to be singing the same tune, but let's hear what he had to say that he thought would be a good idea having him at DH.
We had conversations throughout spring training, and he was very vocal about how he felt, and we made a decision. Alex is going to play third, Rafi's going to DH, and we all are in the winning business, and he understands that. It's like everything, right? You don't have to agree with it, but at the end of the day, what are we going to do to go out there and perform every single day? And he's been working hard, not only with his swing, but the routine. Of course, it's a little bit different. But somebody mentioned, can he do it? What? Every DH used to be a position player until there were DHs, right? JD went through the same transition in 2018. He was an outfielder. He became a DH, and you saw what happened. So we expect the same thing. The kid is ready to go. He's going to hit second against lefties and righties, and he's going to DH. And I think having Alex behind him is going to benefit him. And, honestly, I expect a great season from Rafi offensively.
Yeah, it really hasn't worked out so well so far, Alex Cora. The reality is this is going to be a tough division. The Orioles are young and they're hungry. The Rays are always steady. The Red Sox were thought to be improved this year, not exactly the case so far. And then you have the Toronto Blue Jays. That's a team that they got talent. They got Bichette. They got Vlad Guerrero Jr. And then you got the reigning AL champions, New York Yankees. You can't afford to give games away like this because one of your stars can't even hit the, backside of a beach ball, for God's sakes. Like, this ain't good. 10 strikeouts in the first 3 games. And so to me, the 2 things so far that have really stood out about opening week of Major League Baseball, I would say 3. The Dodgers continue their winning ways, the first 5-0 World Series defending champs since 1985. The Yankees having not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs on the first 3 pitches of a Major League Baseball game. There's a reason why they're undefeated. There's a reason why they just put up 20 points in 1 game, and that was in 8 innings. And then the other takeaway is there's concern in Boston. That is not the way you want to start out, especially when you consider the fact that he was not in love with having to shift positions for the better and sake of the team. Not good if you are Boston right now. Liam, for you, what's your sport?
Baseball, funny enough.
Funny enough. So I don't know do you feel like baseball in opening week has gotten a lot of conversation? Has it been talked about enough? I feel like it's kind of flown under the radar because of the NCAA tournament. I've always believed that opening week of baseball should start on that Tuesday, right after the championship game in the men's NCAA tournament, or even, let's take it a step further, it should just start after college basketball because usually the women's NCAA tournament championship game is on that Tuesday. Opening day should start on Wednesday. I think the whole notion of having opening day officially in another country doesn't do anything to really seize and perpetuate momentum. And then the fact that you're doing it at the most popular time in college basketball, I don't think it's a recipe for success. So I just threw a lot at you right there. Do you agree with me on that notion? And what has been your biggest takeaway so far on opening week of Major League Baseball?
I do agree. And I think the biggest takeaway, there was something I heard. I didn't watch this edition of First Take, but on opening day, they talked about him for 1 segment. And it was,
Jeff Passan was probably on the program when they did that.
Probably, yeah. But I believe it was, kind of put towards the end of the hour, just like, oh, we've got 7 minutes. Let's fit this in. Jeff Passan's here. But it's been like that forever. And at least in my lifetime, I feel like opening day is becoming earlier and earlier every year. And I'm not sure what they're trying to, I don't know what the game plan is there.
It's a really good question. I think that they're trying to obviously gain a global audience. They understand that going overseas, especially with the Dodgers, you have an international sensation in Shohei Ohtani. So I get that. but the timing of it, I don't understand for the life of me.
Yeah, does it have to be the first games? The first games of the 2025 MLB season started at 6:10 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, it's a great right. Like who's watching that? I mean, the hardcore baseball fan is.
Yeah,
you're always going to get that fan, but you're not going to get the casual.
And this is the whole point of the pitch clock and the bigger bases. Is like, let's get the casuals in here so we can make baseball a more global sport.
Not just the casual in that regard. The reason you have the pitch clock, the reason you have the larger bases, is you're trying to win over your generation. You're trying to get the youth audience because it's an audience that baseball doesn't have. Who does have it? The NFL and the NBA. That's who has the 20 to 25 demographic right now. Baseball's trying to catch up with football and basketball because they're trying to shrink the games. They're trying to make it more exciting. They understand that the patience that people have and the mental capacity to stay still for 15, 20 minutes, it's gone by the wayside. It's not what it used to be. So let's make this game go by fast. Let's have it quick. Let's have it effective. Let's be able to have innings that are 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Let's have some rhythm. Let's not have this dragged out where it's Yankees-Red Sox for 4 hours on Sunday Night Baseball. So to all what you're saying is 1,000% correct. And so there needs to be some kind of logic here. There doesn't really seem to be any. And you're timing it with the worst possible time because you're dealing with the heart of the NBA, the heart of the NHL, the heart of college basketball. They might as well make it on Sunday at Augusta. They might as well make it that day.
I mean, I think they would be able to go up against or at least compete a bit better with the end of the NBA and NHL regular season. But the NCAA tournament is just a different beast.
100%.
Like, you just can't even. It's like college football trying to play on Sundays. Like, it's just not going to work.
That would never work. That would never, ever work. I mean, you see how popular the NFL is. I mean, they played on Christmas, and look at that.
And that was always the unofficial start of the NBA season. Nobody watched the NBA.
Sure. What has been your biggest takeaway so far in terms of on the field for Major League Baseball in 2025 and MLB opening week so far?
Well, Shohei Ohtani is no sign of stopping anytime soon. As a Mets fan myself, I would like to see Juan Soto do a little bit more. I believe he had the only hit for the Mets today, which was it's something, but I'd like to see some more,
right,
home runs like he had the night before last. It's a little confusing doing a show at 4 a.m, but the night before.
I
last.
hear you. I get exactly what you're. Yeah, what I do to like kind of always never make that mistake is I just say the day.
That's smart
because for a lot of people this is tonight. What we're talking about, like they feel like it's tonight,
right?
But we know it's our morning, and it's most people's morning. So I always say Sunday, or as opposed to Saturday. Like I never say tonight. I never say last night because someone can be listening on the West Coast,
right?
When we come on at 2 a.m. So I'll always just say on Saturday.
Smart.
I do some smart things every now and then. Yeah, look, that's going to be a tough division. Now, I don't expect Miami to have a winning record this year, but you are dealing with a team that had the best record in the National League last year in Philly. So you're going to be going neck and neck with them. So that's going to be interesting. The Braves are off to an 0-3 start. That I don't understand for the life of me.
Braves are in a rough spot right now. I think they're going to recover, and I think the Braves are going to be right up there with the Mets and Phillies. But I think they're like something I heard on the way in, like 1 for 21 with runners in scoring position to start off the season, which is like, as a Mets fan, hearing the Braves doing that, it's like, oh yeah, this is excellent. I can get used to this.
Right. I mean, that's a talented team right there. So number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. What has been your most exciting moment about MLB opening week? When we get back, we're going to discuss the idiots that run organizations in the NBA. And the title for that particular idiot savant is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. That is the Memphis Grizzlies. They completely sabotaged, tanked, waved a white flag, and co-signed the demise of their season by doing something that has not been done in 30 years. What that is, we will break it down on the other side. And also, this particular hour, there was an individual that had his jersey retired. No one's talking about it because just like when he was playing, even when he's not playing, he continues to get overlooked. But his legacy is fascinating. So much more to do on The Good Shepherd. 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Again, what has been for you the most exciting aspect of MLB opening week in 2025? And when we get back, we will make sure we talk about the absolute ignoramus dolt organization that is the Memphis Grizzlies. This is the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. You can always hit us up on our YouTube chat at any time on the Infinity Sports Network page. You can always follow me at Shep on Air on Twitter or Instagram. If you cannot get through our busy phone lines, so much more to do. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You have one of the best shows on radio. Your sports knowledge is unbelievable. I love listening to your show on my way home from work on Saturday night.
This is the Good Shepherd.
It is the Good Shepherd. We are Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you, however and wherever you may be listening from. Could be for free on the Odyssey app. Could be checking us out on SiriusXM channel 375. However you choose to consume us each and every Sunday morning. Always a privilege to be able to come to you for 4 hours every single week on Sunday and 4 hours every single week on Saturday. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Want to get to the phone lines momentarily. I do just want to say, Memphis Grizzlies, you reap what you sow. You are a team that had a really successful head coach. He's the winningest coach in the history of your franchise. He had a rough go of it because Ja Morant was dealing with all kinds of extra, curricular activities off the court last year, had his plethora of injuries, so it was not a season to write home about nor remember. So you close the book on that. You come back, you regroup, you're right in the mix of things when it comes to getting home court advantage for the first round of the playoffs. You're still only 3 out of the second seed, and with 9 games remaining, you fire your head coach. It's pathetic. It's disastrous. It's reckless. It's moronic. There's no justification for it. Because I don't care if you bring in Mark Jackson. I don't care if you bring in Jeff Van Gundy. Proven winning NBA head coaches. You don't do an overhaul like that late into a season. Now, you want to do something to shake up the team at the beginning of the year. You get off to a rough, rocky start. That's one thing. But when you are headed to the playoffs and you are about 2 weeks away and you do this kind of shakeup, you are absolutely waving the white flag on the season. And it's no accident that the Grizzlies end up playing the Lakers on Saturday. And Austin Reeves goes for a cool 31-8. And Luka Doncic has 29-9. And LeBron James has 25 points. And the Lakers got out ahead 20 points in the first half. And by the way, when you had Taylor Jenkins and you had played the Lakers at FedEx Forum, previously this season, you won by 17. And you don't have him now when you lost. So it looks like that was a pretty dumbass decision, if you ask me. Terrible look for the Grizzlies franchise. If I'm a coach, I don't go anywhere near that. If I'm a qualified, desirable head coach, I am staying as far away from that as possible because that is a hot mess. They make the Sacramento Kings look like a competent, functioning organization. And that organization had no business getting rid of Mike Brown. Look what that has unfolded to be. A 9th seed at best, and you're going to be out when we get to the first week of the play-in tournament. Sorry, Doug Christie, it's not your fault. The franchise screwed you over on that regard. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's get back to the busy phone lines. We've had some people waiting patiently. Let's get to Morgan in San Diego. Morgan, good morning, man. How you doing? What you got for us?
Well, and yourself. Great show as always.
Thank you, Morgan.
Oh, I was just coming to tell you about, you asked me to call you back at the beginning of the NBA season because I kind of had some faith in the Lakers that, maybe because Bronny's on the team that LeBron would play with a little more purpose, because his son's watching. And you didn't believe that they would ever be even playoff contenders. So I just maybe kind of serving you up a little bit of crow this evening.
That's fair. No, I mean, listen, full disclosure, I mean, the fact that Bronny was able to get into a couple NBA games and ends up with a team high in one of them, where he had 17 points, that was really impressive. And he's tearing up the G League. I am very impressed with what I've seen from him. I think that I should have factored in more the heart ailment that he was dealing with in his freshman campaign at USC and how that really set him back. But it doesn't change how he got into the NBA. He didn't get there on merit. He got there because of his dad. With that being said, for a guy selected number 55th overall, He looks the part. He does look like a second-round draft pick. I cannot deny that. And by all accounts, he seems like a great kid, puts in the work, lets his work do the talking for him, and he's definitely not going up to reporters in the middle of games looking for beef. That I know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, you have paid your tax, my good man.
Thank you, Morgan. I appreciate that, and glad you called back, man, and call back anytime. You enjoy the rest of your Sunday, okay, my friend?
Thank you. Great show, bud.
Thanks, Morgan. And good looking out for your Padres, man. They've been unbelievable so far. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's get to Dave in Chicago. Dave, good morning, man. How you doing? What you got for us?
Oh, top of the morning, Shep. I really needed this. One thing you probably don't know about me is that I work at a suicide helpline, and tonight was a long night for a few different reasons. So it's great to just talk about sports.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah, I know. We know each other a little bit, and
yeah,
I never really told you that. But anyway,
no, hey, Dave, before you say anything else, hold on. I just want to tell you that what you are doing is absolutely life-changing, as you are well aware, and I am very impressed that that's how you choose in what you do with your life's work. I can't imagine how taxing, how daunting that is, but I know that there's never, ever going to be nearly enough monetary compensation nor proper reward for what you do. But somebody like myself hears that, and I'm blown away by what you choose to do for a profession. And obviously, you are literally changing and saving lives. So thank you for that, man.
Oh, I do it for free. It's just my volunteer side gig. But anyway,
okay.
I hate missing out on the show, and unfortunately, with this current setup, we have a few days without you coming up. But I'm happy to talk about sports.
Sure.
I think what might be going on with the Grizzlies, I don't know this, but this was sort of like my Charles Barkley take, if you remember, when I told you there was no way he was going to retire.
You were right.
I think what might be going on here is that there's something behind the scenes that we're not aware of, because it just doesn't make any kind of logical sense. So we'll see if anything comes out.
Yeah, but Dave, if that's the case, and do me a favor, get to a little bit better spot, because I want to make sure we can hear you loudly and clearly, Dave, and just make sure you're off speaker. If that's the case, then make that known. Don't let this be a distraction, because all it's going to do is consume the players. They're going to constantly be asked about it. They're going to be put in the spotlight. It's a bad look for the franchise. If there is a last-second change or something behind the scenes that's so daunting that you can't have your coach, who's the most successful coach in franchise history, finish out 9 freaking games, and then whatever you decide to do in the playoffs in terms of how many games you play, then you need to let that be known, because that could have been a distraction for Boston. Remember, they're coming off an NBA Finals appearance. He has their defense plan locked in. You feel like Ume Udoka is going to be the guy. But they were very clear about why they got rid of him. They didn't leave that up to interpretation. They were very transparent about what he did and the transgression that he never should have, stepped out on Neil Long and did something with an employee that I never should have done. And it was uncomfortable, but it did nip everything in the bud, and you weren't left scratching your head saying, what the hell are the Celtics thinking? Well, the Grizzlies need to take a page out of the Celtics book in that regard and just nip this in the bud, because it's going to be something hovering over them for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and I think it could be something like that, but we'll find out. But to get to your main question, because I always like to try to stay with what you want to talk about.
Yeah, you're the anti-Beck. I get it.
I know, we talked about that last night, but I love Beck, by the way.
Who doesn't love Beck? I love Beck too.
But the interesting thing to me about Major League Baseball, and, my takeaway from the season is, I think what's really damaging the sport is just the unfettered capitalism. Like, unfortunately, I'm not like a huge soccer fan, but I like all sports, as you know. And, like, if you look at, like, the Champions League, it's always Real Madrid. It's always Manchester City. It's always Liverpool. Yeah, it's the same couple teams. And my takeaway from the beginning of the baseball season is, as much as I love baseball, we know who the 5 teams are. We know who the 3 teams are. And, of course, the Dodgers are probably the 1 team. So I just think that there's a certain competitive, thing that would be better for the fans.
Yeah, there's obviously you hit the nail on the head with baseball, because it's the sport where money is no object, right? So you can pay 4 different MVPs to continuously come back and be on your roster, and then you talk about their ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and you talk about adding another multiple time Cy Young Award winner in Snell. So if you're the Dodgers, they are the quintessential definition of what it means to be, rich getting richer. And it's not a good look for the rest of the league. And you already see they're 5-0. It's not an accident they're the first undefeated team through the first 5 games as a World Series champion in more than 40 years. So that's not good for baseball. It's exciting if you're a Dodgers fan. It's exciting if you like to see domination in one sport. It's exciting if you like to see dynasties in sports in general. But it's not good for the rest of the game. It's not good for the rest of the markets. It's not good for the rest of the organizations, to your point. Although it's pretty damn exciting to watch Shohei Ohtani play at the apex of his career. That's for sure, Dave.
Oh, he's a spectacular player. And Mookie Betts has extended his prime seemingly as well.
Yeah.
And Freddie Freeman. I mean, the guys aren't bad guys.
No, they're great. They're great guys. No, and
they're out there.
One of my most.
They're out there making money, but I don't blame them. I just think that it might be time for baseball to look at some kind of luxury tax or salary cap, because otherwise we're just going to have the same 5 big market teams every single year.
I agree. Now you will have Arizona sneak in every now and then. You will have like a Marlins team sneak in, whether it be like 97 or 03. So that happens, but that's obviously far and few between and a rare occurrence. Dave, appreciate the kind words. Appreciate what you do, man, and your volunteer work, and appreciate you, brother. We'll talk soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, okay?
You too, Shep.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that, man. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We got a lot of people waiting patiently on the busy phone lines that want to talk about what has stood out for them the most about MLB opening week. We get to your calls on the other side. When we get to the top of the hour, we will certainly recap the biggest stories in sports this past week. One of those being, of course, Todd Golden being the Golden coach that Florida so desperately needed, trying to replace Billy Donovan for quite some time. We will get to that at the top. We will certainly preview Michigan State and Auburn. That is going to be an exciting watch, especially if you're a Spartans fan. So much more to do on the Busy program on The Good Shepherd. You can always follow me at Shep on Air on any social media platform. Before we do anything else, let's get to our latest Sports Flash with Dexter Henry.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, thank you, Dave. A slate of 7 NBA games on Saturday where a couple of teams stayed red hot. In Oklahoma City, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, well, he was a walking bucket.
Wallace driving left, lays it up on Shepard, who blocks his layup. Caruso the loose ball, kicking to Shai. Working the angle left. Guarded by Toppin, 6 to shoot. Shai steps back, fires. The angle left three-pointer is online and in there. Cha-ching, that's Thunder money ball number 16 tonight. Shai authoring 3 of those, now has 33. 18 and a half.
That's the OKC Thunder Radio Network. The NBA's leading scorer continues to score. SGA with a game-high 33 points as the Thunder won their 9th consecutive game, punishing the Pacers 132-111. In San Antonio, Jason Tatum sealed another win for the Celtics.
It's in the hands of Holiday. Now in the corner instead. Porzingis going to take the 3. He'll miss it. Offensive rebound. Tatum puts it back up and in. Boston by 12. 67 seconds left.
That's the Celtics Radio Network. 29 points, 10 boards, and 8 dimes for the Boston All-Star as the Celtics made it 8 straight wins, stopping the Spurs 121-111. Elsewhere, 31 points, 7 boards, and 8 dimes for Austin Reeves as Los Angeles, the Lakers, they grinded past the Grizzlies 134-127. A team-high 20 points for Klay Thompson, including 5 triples on the night as the Mavericks, they bumped the Bulls 120-113. In Chicago. In Orlando, Paolo Banchero scored 24 points in 3 quarters. The Magic, they crowned the Kings 121-91. In the nation's capital, 6 Nets players reached double-figure scoring. Brooklyn, they dropped the Wizards 115-112. And the Heat, They got 30 points and 7 dimes from Tyler Hero to eliminate the Sixers from playoff contention with a 118-95 victory. We go over to men's college basketball in the NCAA tournament in San Francisco. Walter Clayton Jr. rescued Florida with some big-time shots in the second half en route to a game-high 30 points. Florida, they advanced to the Final Four. They bounced Texas Tech 84-79. And Duke, they also advanced to the Final Four. They dumped Alabama 85-65 in Newark, New Jersey. 16 points for Cooper Flagg in the victory. I'm Dexter Henry.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Making one mistake can create infinite ways to succeed if you have the mindset to look at it that way.
Okay, that is from Confucius, a.k.a. Connor from California.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Hey, Liam, do me a favor. Play that sound one more time. That you just, the rejoin, that's brilliant, man.
Making one mistake can create infinite ways to succeed if you have the mindset to look at it that way.
Beautiful. Oh, man. That's Connor from California. Now he's in Ohio. Haven't heard from him in quite some time.
Maybe he's dealing with that move. That's a heck of a move.
Well, that move was 6 months ago.
Well, it's Ohio from California is a hell of an adjustment.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I listen. This for some people, this is like past their bedtime, and I get it. And I love Connor, man. He's a great kid. But you appreciate wisdom like that, especially coming from like a teenager. So you'd like to think that, and I believe Connor's going to do some wonderful things with his career. I know he wants to ultimately do this for a living. He wants to be in journalism, wants to be behind a microphone. I would absolutely 1,000% co-sign on that. I would endorse him. He does a great job whenever he's on the air with us. So, Connor, if you're listening and you are able to find this particular segment of the show, hope you know you got a bright future ahead of you, man. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's get to Alex in Miami. Alex, always good to hear from you, brother. How you doing? What you got for us, sir?
What's up? I want to give a big shout out to my 305 neighbor, Beck, the self-proclaimed Duke of Tallahassee. That's Beck.
Yes. I hope Tallahassee has some things to cheer about on Sunday when the Volunteers, of course, take on Houston. So,
Shep, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm a Hurricane alumni. I hope I hope they really don't cheer.
You hope they what?
They don't cheer at all.
Fair enough.
I'm a Hurricane. I'm a Hurricane for life.
Fair enough, man. That's right, man. It's all about the you. I get it.
It's all about the you. I wanted to give you my take on baseball.
Sure.
Do you remember when I called a couple of days ago and I told you the Dodgers might win 120 games, and you told me, that's going to be hard, Alex. They might not win 120 games. Well,
yeah, they might.
This is why I think they might.
Yeah.
First 2 games, Mookie Betts was out, Freddie Freeman was out. They still won.
Yep.
On Friday, Tanner Scott blew the save. They still won. Yesterday, Roki Suzuki, I think that's his name.
Yeah. He's newly acquired, obviously, as is Tanner Scott. Yeah.
He was wild. He couldn't hit water. He fell off a boat. He couldn't throw a strike. They still won.
Yeah.
So if they don't get you one way, they get you the other way. So if they stay healthy, 120 games is in the program.
Yeah, but the if is a big operative word here, because again, you're Shohei, the amount of torque and just wear and tear he puts on his body, having to do pitching and hitting. There's a reason why no one else has done that since Babe Ruth on a full-time basis, right? So that's the big if. Mookie obviously is an older player. He's coming in not with the healthiest body at this point, and I'm glad he's back. Freddie Freeman, I think he's going to be 36 years old this year. So the if is the operative word here. If they can stay healthy, of course they're going to win 120 games. I don't see that happening though, because I don't see them staying healthy, at least in the regular season.
I don't know. Let's see. We got to let the season play out and see what's going to happen.
Sure. I hear you, man. I hear you.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what comes first, the chicken or the eggs.
I literally, as soon as you said that, I was like, is he going to go chicken and egg on me? And you did it. And you did it really smoothly. So well done on that.
Yeah. There's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I know what your answer is going to be.
Yes.
Your answer is going to be, I'm sure that whoever gets the position is going to do a great job. There's a lot of great hosts on the station, but I'm getting tired of this. I think it's already time that they give you the position. You know what I mean? I'm starting to get upset. I'll be honest with you. I sent an email to your superiors, and I never got an answer back, just like you did with the Lakers. You know,
Alex, I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for being such an advocate of mine. And yeah, I'm gonna give you, Alex. I'm sorry. I want to put you on hold because there's something I want to address with you. But just again, that's a situation that's out of my control, and hoping for the best. Whoever gets it is going to knock it out of the park. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We're previewing the Elite Eight next, and your calls.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Your love lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up, quench my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Just want to give a shout out to Alex in Miami. When you do something for a long time, you just want to make sure that it lands well and that people appreciate it and that people consume it for the right reasons. And someone like Alex, who is really intelligent, really well-spoken, excuse me as I lose my voice, somebody who gets what we do for a living, who understands not just sports, but the nature behind sports media. For me and Alex to go back and forth like that on the air, and then for him to just offer good wishes, man. People like Alex are why I do the show. It's why I show up and travel 2 hours to get here. And have to sacrifice a lot to be able to do this for 4 hours every single, weekend, Saturday and Sunday for the last 4 years. And then I look at this chat, man, like Rabbit, Gary, Daly, Tommy, Quinn, just like Peter, the usuals, man. It always means a lot to be able to just kind of like know that what you're doing matters. And I don't know if I say that enough. My appreciation for our audience, my appreciation for those that participate in what we do and that are a part of it. And I've always said this, and it's something that JR said a long time ago, JR Sport Brief, someone who I have a lot of respect for. This is not just David Shepard's show. This is not just the Good Shepherd show. And I know sometimes people joke that they feel like, guys like Beck or Tommy or Glenn in Niagara Falls. Hope Glenn's doing well, by the way. I haven't heard from him in quite some time, man. I'm always looking after you, Glenn. I love you, brother. Like someone, James in LA, Alan in Toronto, Dave in Chicago. There's Greg in Michigan. There's so many people that constantly call into the show. And, it's your show as much as it is mine. I am certainly the gatekeeper, but this is your show too. And we get to be able to go back and forth and talk nationally in markets that hit over 300 affiliates across North America. And that is your platform as much as it is mine. And it's a privilege to be a caretaker for that and to be no pun intended, a shepherd in terms of like bringing people in and having honest and meaningful conversation about sports. And I like to think it's pretty intelligent. And it's not like Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James right now. It's actually intelligent conversation. So I'm all for that. Want to continue to do that as long as humanly possible. And if I'm able to do it 5 days a week, it'd be an amazing honor. But there's nothing more I can do at this point. There's nothing more I can do at this point. So, whoever gets that role, they're going to knock it out of the park. And I will support them if it's me or whomever, because this is my home and this is my family. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Speaking of someone who's a friend of the show, this guy, Beck, how we doing in Florida? I like how Liam. I like how you didn't put anything under the topic, so you know this character now. You didn't put anything there, so you obviously know.
Well, he knew I was new, and he was able to kind of set the table. He was like, I don't want to get you in trouble now.
Right.
And so I kind of let him be.
Yeah, don't ever put a topic underneath, because I will do everything I can to kind of rein him back in, but he's going to talk about anything different than what he told you he was going to talk about, just so you know that. I've known Beck for 4 years now. Beck, how are you, buddy? What you want to say?
Man, I'm glad that he listened to and I gave him some good, I guess, advice or whatever else. But again, you can't make this up. Alex, you were talking about Alex. So yes, intellectual people and everything else. Again, you can't make this up. I mean, but again, I shout out to all those people, and again, you and everybody, because you keep it going.
Oh, so, you got some influence on that too now, Beck. You got a lot of people that root for you, man. I mean, listen.
No, but I don't care about that.
I know you don't. You know what? Don't act like you ain't a human being. You care a little bit. You like the fact that people enjoy what you have to say. Now, sometimes they don't always get the direction in which you're going in, but they can appreciate your uniqueness every single time you call in.
I don't even know the direction I'm going in. You don't either. Nobody does.
Sorry.
Hey, take a sip of that tuna,
Beck, lay off my tuna habits. It was one time. We got to get over this. It was 3 months ago. I was hungry.
Do you know what that day is? I want to see that. I've never even seen that. I'm going off the chat.
You know what? Here's the thing. I would honestly purchase the tuna out of the vending machine if I could every single time. I would, despite what everyone thinks of me because of it. But I can't do that because it's so old that it doesn't even come out of the vending machine at this point. Like, it's all the way back there, and there's like a malfunction every single time you try to get the crackers and tuna. They don't even allow, like, even though it's there, it doesn't even come out. So maybe that's a sign that I never should have had it in the first place.
Well, guess what? Speaking of baseball, again, we're going to go to that later in multiple months. But Nasty Nestor from Hialeah, I guess he ain't Nasty Nestor anymore because he gave up meatballs like he did to Freddie Freeman in the World Series, and he's still giving up the Yankees. Well, he was a Yankee person on that team, but he's still giving up meatballs. So,
5 home runs. Not good. Not good at all. I mean, only he has the ability to squander the Yankees World Series chances. And I kind of blame Aaron Boone because he put him in a no-win situation when he hadn't had, any appearances in months, and then you use a starter as a relief pitcher. So that was on Aaron Boone. But then,
we know that. We went through that, too.
We did. Yeah. Naughty Nestor would be putting it mildly for how bad he was as a Brewer coming back to Yankee Stadium. 5 home runs, 3 home runs on 3 pitches. I mean, it's as if he's playing for the Yankees all over again, but this time he actually wanted to do something right for the Yankees, not squander the World Series opportunities.
And speaking of another person we mentioned, you didn't know about it, I think Sabarika. Congrats to winning the Miami Open women's title. And I told you a long time ago that her boyfriend or whatever else, NHL player, committed suicide. Speaking of, the guy was talking earlier about suicide squads and everything else.
Dave in Chicago was referencing he does that for volunteer work, and that's a pretty tall order in terms of volunteer work. I mean, you talk about doing something meaningful and impactful. I mean, you're dealing with the absolute heaviest of emotions and heaviest of circumstances and ordeals, and to do that on top of working a full-time job, I'm sure. I mean, it does speak to the quality of human being that he is.
I mean, Liam, that poor guy got introduced to me.
Some people might say Liam had a better night because he was introduced to you. How about that?
Oh, is that okay?
By the way, and I know I said this before, you believe this dude's 20? Like, does he? Because Beck, I know you listen to most of the show. Does he sound 20 to you? He doesn't to me.
Who? Who are you talking about?
The guy you just said, Liam. Stay with me, Beck.
Oh, I heard in the chat they compared him to like KP or whatever. Yes, I think he sounds like KP or whatever.
That's some high praise. Chris Persianen praise right there.
Yeah, KP's the guy.
Oh, I love myself some KP. You're probably the 1,000th producer that I've worked with here, by the way. But KP is very similar to you. What I'm gathering from you so far, we've never met before.
No,
I actually thought you were someone else. So I saw this other newish guy.
That's me too.
No, I didn't think he was you, Beck. But
but I don't know him.
Yes,
he was the new guy.
Yes, exactly. So like I see this tall, strapping young man come out. I'm like, who's this guy? Like, that's not Liam. Then you're like, hey,
not me.
And you call me David, and I go, okay, we've definitely never met before because the last time I was called David here was probably 5 years ago. So and that's fine. But but then I'm working with you, and I'm like, man, this guy's sharp. Like, he's really good for someone who's new. Like, there's no way he's new. And I'm thinking to myself, he looks really young, but he's got to be a veteran. Like, he had to have been at another station. So I go, so where are you coming from? And he thinks I literally mean, like, where he's coming from in terms of his drive. I didn't mean that. That's great, too, that you're coming from Long Island. But I thought you were coming from, like, another network or, like, another TV job or something. Because at 20, to be able to hold down the fort the way you are is really, really unique. And KP, Beck's boy, is like, he's like boy wonder too. Like, you guys are the same vein because Chris Persianen, I think he's got like 15,000 followers on social media right now. How many people can do that at 23 years old?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is. And the guy grinds. Like, if KP will call me in the middle of the night because he's so excited about an article coming out. Like, that's the kind of enthusiasm that he shares for this business. Like, that's how driven he is. Like, he's meeting with, like, the bosses about, like, how to do more digital for the Infinity Sports Network. Like, he's got his hands and pulse all over this place. So, like, for you to be compared to that, that's, like, the highest praise there is.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with KP a few times now. He was kind of helping, training me and everything, and he gives me a ton of advice, more than maybe anybody else here so far that I've interacted with, which is still, few people. But, I mean, he's been great.
Right.
So, again, like you said, to be compared to him, to be put in that same little stratosphere, it's high praise.
Can I give you my 2 cents?
Sure.
Okay. Don't ever allow somebody else to dictate to you the work that you do. Be your own best friend, but also be your harshest critic. And you will go as far as possible with that mindset and that tenet. And don't ever try to be better than somebody else, but always be better than the person you were the day before. And if you do that, there is nothing that's going to stand in your way in this business. And I got that from reading about John Wooden when I was 20 years old, when he was still alive. And I tried to meet John Wooden. And unlike LeBron James, he actually got back to me. Wow. Full circle moment, Beck. So continue, my friend.
No, but that's the greatest. That's why you are who you are. Is again, Ray's not there. I guess Ray's is the new guy, the guy coming after you. I guess whatever else that we talked about in the past. But what was that? And man, my mind went
so much going on right now, Beck. Yeah, I know we're talking a million miles an hour. Beck, all right, let me get you out with this, okay? You're calling from the Sunshine State. Do you like Florida's chances once they get to the Final Four, which obviously mission accomplished, first time since 2014?
Oh, I'm glad you brought up. I just thought of that. But back to Ray or whatever else and everything else is going to the people again. My mind blank again. So yes, so go back to CB. Another. I thought I was going guns a-blazing, and then how does Florida come back and, CB, another, he was a Texas Tech old coach too.
Okay.
And everything.
Beck, most people don't know what you're referring to when you say CB. So I know it's Chris Beard. I don't know if other people know and get that reference point. It's not like LBJ, where everyone knows that's LeBron James. You know what I mean? I don't think most people even know who Chris Beard is.
Right. Actually, I just thought about what I was thinking of Ray, about respect. Me and Ray or whatever it's you, the given thing was the guy that came in the show and he didn't treat you with respect. He called you a dude or whatever.
Oh, this is going back. Oh, you don't know about this. You don't know about this. So, Liam, so there was this newest person here, and I went into the studio, and I agree. Maybe I took it too personally. That's fair. But he's like a little older than you. I'm 38, okay? So I'm significantly older than you, okay? And I've never met him before. And I just asked him a question, and he goes, I don't know, dude. And that did not sit well with me. That did not sit well with me. If there's someone in their 50s here, and I've never met them before, I'm never saying dude to them. They're my elder. I got to show them a semblance of respect. Do you agree? And you can be honest with me. Don't you think that's legit? Is that fair?
100%. Now, I can't say that I'm perfect all the time because sometimes you slip. Like I'll throw out a yeah instead of a yes.
No, that's different than calling someone 20 years older dude.
Fair. But sometimes if I say yeah to a host, I'm like, oh, should have said yes.
Well, first of all, I'm Shep. I'm a Shep before I'm a host. Does that make sense? Like I'm a person.
Right.
Like, so don't ever think, hey, he's a host, I got to treat him a certain way.
No, but in work, professional setting, I think very highly of that stuff.
Yes, thank you. So like, but there is a level of decorum that comes with working in this business for a long time. I've been here for almost 20 years. Like that deserves some semblance of respect. Just like someone else, if I see Jody Mack, okay, and I've never met Jody Mack before, I'm not going up to Jody Mack and saying, "Hey, dude, what up?" Like that's Jody Mack. So I'm saying, sir, or I'm saying Mr. McDonald, or I'm saying Jody. I'm not saying dude. Like that's just something you don't do. Like Andy Gresh is older than me. Like I'm trying to think of hosts that you would know here. Like Perloff, older than me. I'm not going up to Perloff, who other people call McMuffin, and say, "Hey, I think." No, I'm not exaggerating when I say that, Beck. Like,
no,
hey,
that was going to lead in. Was Big Muppet that caller earlier? Big Muppet, that's the greatest.
That was the greatest nickname ever. That's that. Let me tell you something. Here's what I know about our YouTube chat, Beck, and I say "our" because I know you're there too. You're lurking somewhere, but I know you're there. I know we have some of the most creative minds.
I don't have social media.
I don't believe.
Yes, I'm there.
I don't believe you
I'm
for
there.
one. Beck, I don't believe you for 1 second because you come on the show all the time and reference things that I don't even bring up. That the only way you would know that is if you're on the chat. But
because I read it, I'm there, but I don't have a personal account.
Fair enough.
Let's go in.
But the point is, I guarantee
you know my name.
Yeah.
But go on.
I guarantee you, there's someone clever enough, whether it's someone like Bobby Buckwheat, who's making a song now about McMuffin. I'm not kidding. On the Infinity Sports Network. That name is going to carry. And I had nothing to do with it. Beck, always a pleasure. Your calls are one of a kind. Love you, brother. Talk soon, okay?
I love all you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Beck. Good to hear from you in Florida. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Oh, McMuffin. You got to love it. Let's get to Giovanni. Giovanni in California. Giovanni, good morning, man. How you doing? What you got for us?
Hey, buddy. Well, sir, now that you're talking about that.
Oh, no, Giovanni, but it's different. Man, it's different because you and I have talked, but it's different. You can call me dude. We know each other. You've talked to me before.
I'm a skater, but I got I'm a professional too, but I got so much respect for you, man, because, I always got to start off with that, I'm going to tell you right now, you're a GOAT. You're you're such a professional. I don't even know how I tune into your show every time you're on. I appreciate automatic. So I really appreciate
Giovanni. Thank you, man. I will tell you that I am not a GOAT. The GOATs
you are.
Honestly, the GOATs in our industry are Howard Stern. You can certainly put somebody like Chris. Well, thank you, Giovanni.
You're my GOAT for sure.
I appreciate that.
You're the only one that I tune into every time.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, man. So thank you for the kind words, Giovanni. You can call me dude now anytime you want because you call me a GOAT. Right, sure, but what did you want to say about professional or amateur sports the last 24 hours that has taken place that has stood out to you?
Well, I've been enjoying this weekend, especially baseball opening week, opening day. But I had a question for you. Who is your favorite play-by-play sports announcer right now? Active.
Active. Good question. Good question. So I think Mike Breen.
I miss Vince Scully, and that's coming from a.
Oh yeah, fan. Bob Uecker, Vince Scully. You want to talk about somebody like Ernie Harwell way back in the day, Jack Buck, who obviously Joe's father. There's been some great ones. If you want to go all the way back, Red Barber, Mel Allen. But in terms of today, I don't think they get any better than two individuals that I'm thinking of: Mike Breen and Kevin Harlan. I think those guys are just hovering above the rest right now. Yeah. Al Michaels is still good, but he's not Al Michaels with his fastball when he was calling Monday Night Football back on ABC in the late 90s, you know?
Kevin Harlan, he's one of my favorites.
He's great.
He lives in Monterey, pretty close to where I live, and he comes on KMBR a lot.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of the greatest. How about baseball? Any recommendations for like active?
Joe Davis is really good.
Okay,
he's really.
What team does he?
So he does Dodgers, but he's national too. He's Fox's lead play-by-play guy. He took over for Joe Buck. He is fantastic. He is so good.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank on who it is, but he does their radio. Steven Nelson, is that who it is, Liam?
For the Dodgers?
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure off the top.
I want to look this up for you, Giovanni, because it's a good question. I want to make sure that you're only hearing the best. Steven, he's a young guy. Steven Nelson, yeah, that's who it is. He is really, really, really good. Another young guy who's up and coming, who's got such a gift for this, and I got to put this guy in there. Ian Eagle. Ian Eagle's up there too. He can do.
What team does he like?
Well, he's national, but he does local basketball games for the Nets. But he's national.
Okay.
He's the main guy for March Madness. He's the second lead guy for CBS for the NFL. He does everything. The up and coming guy that you got to pay attention to is Noah Eagle. Noah Eagle is like 20-something years old, and he's the lead voice for NBC basketball. Like, he's just that gifted. And then, is there someone else that there's so many great ones, honestly.
What do you think about John Miller for the Giants?
He's you want to talk about GOATs? ESPN never should have got rid of him and Joe Morgan. That was one of the best broadcasting.
I love listening to him because he just paints.
He's great.
The game. It's just awesome. But you're in the industry, and I appreciate what you guys do. I don't watch the YouTube because I like radio. It's kind of old school. It's like,
I hear that.
It makes you think, like, lets your imagination.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate what you do, and I just wanted to ask you, if any recommendations for active, play-by-play.
Yeah, those individuals that I obviously just mentioned.
Okay.
Another old school guy, if you want like personality and you want like a lot of flavor to go with substance, is Joel Myers. Joel Myers doesn't get put in the same conversation as some of the all-time greats, but he's so good. And then if you want locally, like for the Yankees, like Emmanuel Barbari happens to be one of my favorites. He's a young up-and-coming guy. And he's been doing this for quite some time, and he's very wholesome.
Is he better than the Mets announcer?
In my opinion, yes. But I know the Mets are great too. I mean, you can make an argument they have the best television broadcast booth in all of baseball. I mean, obviously, Gary Cohen, and you're talking Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling. Yeah. That's a fantastic
Gary Cohen. His calls are amazing, especially like in the playoffs last year. Yeah. That was amazing.
Oh yeah. So Giovanni, I hope that answers your question, man, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right, and you have a good rest of your morning, man, and thank you for the kind words. Enjoy the rest of the Elite Eight, okay?
Thanks, Goat.
Thanks, Giovanni. I appreciate that, man. Very, very kind of you. Again, to be fully transparent, there is nothing good about me. Doesn't mean I won't get there one day. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Speaking of goats, Tom Izzo, you can make an argument that at least in terms of this generation, he should be in the GOAT conversation because he does more with less as well as anybody in today's college basketball landscape. We get to that next. We get to your calls as well. You can follow me at Shep On Air on any social media platform. If you cannot get through our busy phone lines, you can hit us up in our YouTube chat, where you will definitely see a lot of familiar characters, including the mayor of Chatville, a.k.a. Daly. So much more to do on the busy program on The Good Shepherd. We're coming right back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You are amazing, man. Every second I have to wait on the phone line for you, whether it's an hour or two, every second is worth it, man. Just get to talk to you.
Connor, feeling is mutual. All right? Know that.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Welcome back, everybody. This is indeed the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Going to get back to the phone calls momentarily. Do want to talk about a couple of clashes that we are going to witness in the final remaining games of the Elite Eight, more specifically 2 games. You have the number 1 overall seed, which nobody believes actually is the number 1 overall seed in the Auburn Tigers, because they came into this tournament losing 3 of their last 4 games. And even though that was not exactly playing their best, really peaking at the right time, still the tournament and committee thought it'd be a good idea to have them as the number 1 overall seed over Duke. And they're 5-point favorites against Michigan State. But Bruce Pearl is not an idiot. He's not going to take the bait. He's going to downplay that, and he's going to call Michigan State anything but an underdog. Meanwhile, Michigan State, you know how good they are. They have more talent, believe it or not, whether it's Xavier Booker, whether it's Jeremy Fears Jr., they are McDonald's All-Americans for a reason, and Tom Izzo knows how to get the better of SEC opponents in the NCAA tournament. He really knows how to do that. He's 10-0 against the SEC in March Madness. So Izzo, he's also not going to take the bait because he recognizes that Auburn, for the first 3 months of the country and the season, were the number 1 ranked team and only had lost 1 game. The reason the SEC is so heavily favored is because of athleticism. But when you get to this point in the tournament, it's about what team is better prepared. What team is able to take away your best option, your second best option, your third best option. Izzo knows a lot about that. Obviously, we know the record is incredibly impressive in the Elite Eight. He is 8-2 in Elite Eight games. And so you're thinking about, okay, what happened the last time these guys played against each other? This was 2010 in the Elite Eight, when Michigan State was able to escape 70-69. And it wasn't because Michigan State was the better team. They out-executed Auburn down the stretch. And so if this game gets tight, remember me telling you this, Tom Izzo always knows how to pull out the rabbit out of the hat. Shout out to Rabbit on the YouTube chat, by the way. But that is what has been Tom Izzo's MO. Not exactly Bruce Pearl. And Izzo understands that at this point, it has now been 25 years since they have won a national championship. It has been a decade plus since they have even made a national championship game. So he wants to get back there in the worst way possible. And even though he has now made 11 Elite Eights, it is nothing to celebrate at Michigan State.
Elite Eights are great too, but go back to my statement from the beginning. We don't put up any banners for grade eights. We put up banners for championships and Final Fours and national championships. But I've talked to these guys about it. I guess that's the one thing I do have some experience on. Thank God I got a couple players, former players. I got a whole locker room full of former players right now. I got Kevin Willis beating up my guys because we weren't as tough, and he's tough.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say a guy who played in the NBA in his mid-40s was absolutely tough. And then you discuss, Jace Richardson Jr., likely the guy I believe who has the most amount of promise at the NBA level. Certainly the son of Jason Richardson helps. That's going to be an exciting matchup to watch. And speaking of exciting matchups to watch, the other Elite Eight contest is going to be between Purdue and, well, it was Purdue because Houston was able to get by them. But what you're going to ultimately see is the Tennessee Volunteers and Rick Barnes. And Rick Barnes is an individual who has not made a Final Four in almost a quarter century. But he has done something that's never been done in Tennessee before, and that is get to back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. They've never made a Final Four as a men's volunteer program. So that is something that Rick Barnes wants to check off. I think he's 70 now, so he's definitely one of the oldest coaches in men's college basketball in Division I. I know Pitino is the oldest, with Leonard Hamilton ultimately resigning or basically getting pushed out at Florida State. So Rick Pitino is the oldest at 72, and Rick Barnes not far behind him at 70. He certainly has put off retirement conversation. That was, there was some speculation in the middle of the season, but he said he's happy where he is. He's going to want to ride the ship out for as long as possible. And Tennessee, they are a really good team. But I've also seen Tennessee get routed by 30 points against Florida this year. I've seen them get taken down by Auburn. So what that tells me is they're a really good team, but when they play against the absolute best in college basketball, a.k.a. the number 1 seeds, they don't do particularly well. They lost by 30. It wasn't exactly close. And then they lost by 9 again to Florida in the SEC tournament. So I like Houston's chances in this. You're talking about a team that has now made 3 of the last 5 Elite Eights. Calvin Sampson wants to get back to a Final Four. It's the first time he would do that in, it wasn't too long ago that they were there in 2021. Rick Barnes, it's been quite some time. TJ Ford was his captain and point guard and floor leader, and that was 2003. So I believe we will see 4 number ones. Well, actually, I have Michigan State beating Auburn. We will see 3 number ones in the NCAA tournament Final Four, and then I believe Tom Izzo, Michigan State, is going to ride his coaching prowess, his acumen, his experience, and as lovable as Bruce Pearl is, Tom Izzo is the better coach, and that usually ends up working in that coach's favor come Elite Eight. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's get to the busy phone lines. Let's get to Zach in D.C. Zach, good morning, man. How you doing? What you got for us?
Good morning, Shep. It's been a long time, man. I haven't spoken to you in a while, but I listen every single weekend. So on behalf of all your listeners, I want to personally thank you for your unmatched, and I mean unmatched. You have an unmatched way of making us all feel validated and valued. So thank you so much for that, my brother.
It's the least I can do, Zach. Thank you, man.
I appreciate you, man. So the 3 number ones and number 3, I'm in total agreement with you.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing that I got a chance to see this year, and I just slept on it. I knew Cooper Flagg was a great player coming out of high school.
Sure.
But when they reclassified this young man, and he started his season at 17 and didn't turn 18 sometime in December, he's only been 18, 90 days. And this guy grew up right in front of us.
Yep.
This guy is a phenom. And I think Duke is going to take it. I think he can play a good game, and his supporting cast is spot on. If he play a great game, they're unstoppable. Plain and simple. He has every single. I mean,
without
he
question.
got it all.
Yeah, well,
he got
listen,
it all.
he can shoot from the outside. He can pass. He can rebound. He can defend. He can create avenues where he's attacking the lane. He does everything well. The thing that I think about with Cooper Flagg, this is what's interesting, is you know why, to me, he reclassified? Along with, obviously, making more money as an NBA player than NIL. You know the other reason I think he reclassified?
Why?
Because I think for this generation, guys like 10 through 30, they all grew up on LeBron. Cooper Flagg understands that LeBron may not be in the NBA that much longer. And in fact, year number 23 might be LeBron's final year. So he did not want to do what LeBron did, which is not reclassify, stay a year to your class and not go up. And because of that, we didn't get LeBron Michael. We could have gotten it if LeBron reclassified in 2002. And, you know, obviously went before, instead of graduating in 03, graduated in 02, because he does have a very late 84 birthday. It's December 30th. So I think Cooper Flagg saw that and said, I don't want to make the same mistake. And so you got to love the chutzpah of a character like that. You got to love the guts. You got to love the confidence. And to your point, dealing with the hobbled ankle injury.
I love it when you say that, by the way.
Oh, what was that?
I love it when you say to your point.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I'm talking about when you validate.
Thank you, Zach.
Well,
Well,
go
no,
ahead.
because
I'm
you brought it
Go
up.
ahead.
Because what you're witnessing is, whether it's against Mount St. Mary's, whether it's against Baylor, obviously we saw what he did against Arizona. Not exactly a Cooper Flagg vintage game in the Elite Eight versus Alabama, but what you have seen minus this game, in which he was all right, he was 16 points, he's gotten better with every single competition. As the competition's gotten better, he's gotten better. He's raised his game. He's elevated his stock. So that's a really good sign, not just for Cooper Flagg obviously being the number 1 player in the country, but how he's going to ultimately fare at the NBA level. And don't think this conversation, Zach, is not going to be had, because it will. And you know what it is. It's, can a white American player make that jump and finally be transcending? Because it hasn't happened since 1977, when a number 1 overall draft pick was a white American. And Zach, I will be blown away if you can tell me who that is.
Larry Bird.
No, Larry Bird, remember, he was drafted by the Celtics in 1978 before he even stopped playing college basketball. That's how good Red Auerbach knew he was going to be. So he got drafted and still went back to play for Indiana State. So the name is
1 year before that.
Yes, 1 year before that. Yes, so you're exactly on the right ballpark here.
I'm almost there.
Kent Benson. And that didn't exactly translate.
No, I would have got that. No matter what you did to me.
All right,
I wouldn't have gotten that.
exactly. Like some people would have guessed Bill Walton, but obviously Bill Walton was in 1974. Exactly.
Yeah,
Doug Collins was
older.
1970.
That's why I was.
Yeah.
The closest I can get was Bird. Bill was too old.
Right.
But to your point, he is going to transcend, and because he has so much, he has untapped potential, Shep. It's not even. He hasn't even tapped into it.
I agree.
His basketball IQ is going to allow him to transcend. He's fearless, and he can play. I mean, they think he can switch out on a point guard. I mean,
he can guard all five positions. And last time I checked, there's very few guys in the NBA that can do that. One of them is a guy that's likely going to be playing in year number 23, LeBron James, who can still do it at 40-something years old, which is incredible. Zach, man, appreciate the call and the kind words, brother. Right back at you what you said to me, man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Zach.
Remember,
call back.
Unmatched.
Thanks.
Unmatched ability.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Zach. And call back anytime, man. Good to talk to you. Good to hear from you again. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. When we get back, we're going to take the remainder of your phone calls. If you're on hold, we are getting to you. I promise you that. I also promise we're going to show some love to an underappreciated superstar because he didn't get his love that he should have deserved in the playing days of his, but he's getting it now. Who that is, we'll get to that on the other side. Before we do anything else, let's get to our final sports flash of this particular Good Shepherd. Here's Dexter Henry.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All righty, Dave. Cooper, Flag, and Duke, they continue to look strong in March, and on Saturday, the team, they punched their ticket to the Final Four.
Far side of the floor, Proctor's got it. Still with the dribble alive. Back to Flag, shot clock down to 10. And Flag lost his footing, but dribbled his way right back up again. Spinning now to the lane, shot up and good! Cooper Flag sends Duke to the 11-0 run. 76-58. Alabama with under 3 to go.
Spiro Ditas with the call on Westwood One Radio. Flag's layup had the Blue Devils in complete control, 16 points, 9 boards, and 3 assists for Flag. But mostly impressive for Duke was the team's defense as they shut down the number 1 offense in the nation. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they failed to score 70 points for only the second time this season as they fell to Duke 85-65 in the East Regional Final. The Blue Devils are now playing in their 18th Final Four. We go over to the West Regional Final where Florida had an amazing comeback in the second half.
Here's Houck above the left elbow. Get it back to Clayton. Back up top to Houck. Houck stops, thought about the 3, toss it back out to Clayton. Clayton dribbling over on the left wing, matched against Darian Williams. He'll jump the 3 for the tie. It's good! Knotted up! 75 apiece. 1:45 to go. 9-0 Gator run.
That's Ryan Radke on Westwood One with the call. Walter Clayton Jr. drained 3 of his game-high 30 points, got his Gators back in the game, and his team would complete a late turnaround. Florida rallied from 9 points down late to beat Texas Tech 84-79. In other college hoops news, St. John's star R.J. Lewis Jr. is declaring for the 2025 NBA draft and entering the transfer portal. The Big East Player of the Year is expected to make at least $1.5 million in NIL earnings if he opts to return to college basketball next season. In golf, third round of the Houston Open, and Minwoo Lee with a 4-shot lead at 17 under after a 7 under 63 on Saturday. I'm Dexter Henry.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I'm a friend of the show, man. I love what you're doing. Please keep up the good work.
This is the Good Shepherd.
Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody. This is indeed the Good Shepherd on the Infinity Sports Network. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Before we get back to phones, just want to say congratulations to Dwight Howard on getting inducted into the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. This is an individual that was averaging 6 rebounds per game and 16 minutes per game in his final season in the NBA. That was, of course, in 2022. Everybody knows Dwight Howard should still be playing in the NBA. The reality is this is a guy that made 5 All-NBA first teams, was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. For him to get left off the All-75 team, when they celebrated that in 2021 is an absolute joke. No disrespect to Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, even James Harden. Dwight Howard was more impactful for his team than any of those 4 names that I just mentioned, and he continues to get disrespected. I don't know why. So he's different. There's a lot of people that are different. He's one of the 75 greatest players to ever live. What an absolute omission and shame it was having him get left off that team. The NBA should do better. I hope they get it right by electing him first ballot to the Hall of Fame, which obviously he's up for enshrinement in 2025. Let's get back to the busy phone lines. Mac in Buffalo, always good to hear from you. How you doing? How you been? Yes. I agree with that. I think NIL is not a great thing either. Yep. Well, I think LeBron can, do better, but so can Stephen A. I hear you. Yep. Anything else? Okay. Mac, you have a good what? Yes. Yes. Always on Saturdays and Sundays. Thank you, Mac. You be well. Thank you, Mac. Appreciate it. Number to get aboard, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. By the way, the audience knows, just so you know, Liam, that she's actually not there. It's just a bit I do when someone's not there. Let's get to Lee in Montana. Lee, good morning. What do you have for us, sir?
Hello there, Dave. I told him I would not call you dude.
It's okay if you do, because I've spoken to you before. There's familiarity there. That's fine.
Yeah, of course. Well, you and I have both been in the same boat. I've done radio, too.
Good for you, man.
So, hey, I see my Mariners are having another little problem with run support for their pitchers.
Yeah. I mean, you make the playoffs 2 years ago. I give you credit for that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Things will turn around. They're notorious for slow starts.
Well, it is 3 games. So even if they were 3-0, I would still tell you to slow your roll. It's just 3 games, but we shall see, man. This is a proud organization, obviously. But they're going to be in a tough AL West. Jorge Polanco, you got to love what he's doing so far. Victor Robles, you got to respect his game. But the pitching, to your point, you have Logan Gilbert get a quality start. That should have never ended up in a loss. Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo. Trent Thornton shouldn't be the only one with a win so far for the Mariners. Yeah, that's probably the most Mariners I'll ever talk in the Major League Baseball regular season, but I'm glad you brought it up, Lee.
Yeah, and of course they are playing the Athletics, so.
Well, anyone can beat the Athletics. I mean, you myself, and Liam could beat the Athletics.
Well, I know I could. I could still hit a ball. I can still hit a ball 450 feet.
That is very impressive, man. So you're like Benjamin Button. You age in reverse, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I just finished my 69th tour around the sun yesterday.
Happy birthday, man!
So, well, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
and, I'm on the downhill slide 70 now.
Well, you don't sound like you're on a down flight for anything, Lee. I appreciate the phone call as always, man. Continue to stay youthful, stay young, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Lee. Good to hear from you, man. Number to get aboard is 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476. Let's finish it off with this character, Mike in South Carolina. Mike, always good to hear from you, brother. How you been? What you got for us, sir?
Jeff, thanks for getting me on, the last caller. And I'm not going to call you dude.
You can you can call me dude because you are my elder.
That's right. I'll be 71. And the best of all, I think.
God bless you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Shep, I've heard a lot of people over the years. Mike Francesa went to one of his 3 retirement parties. We played ball against each other, whatever.
He had a lot of retirements. That's right.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? You keep the game going, and you got the upbeat kick. You really do. And you treat everybody with dignity. And you know what? Let's go Duke.
That's right.
Let's go Duke. And how about, number 2, Cooper. Wow.
He's unbelievable.
And I'll finish with this. I was listening yesterday. I can't stand Stephen A. Smith. And a little, a little rat-a-tat-tat they had with LeBron James.
Yeah, you're not alone. I mean? You're not alone. There's a lot of people that totally disregard the kind of media that he does and don't have any liking or affinity for it. You're right.
Right.
What he does is he makes it about himself. He doesn't make it about the sport that he covers, and I think people get very turned off by that. Mike, always a pleasure, brother. I'm with you on Duke, man.
Thank you.
I like their chances. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate everybody for tuning in these last 4 mornings on the Infinity Sports Network. Great to be with you these last 4 days. Really been a true pleasure, and obviously we're going to talk so much more NCAA tournament next weekend, and I cannot wait for that. Liam Flynn, thank you so much, man, for what you did today. You were brilliant on the ones and twos, brilliant producing, brilliant on-air contributions. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat. You are great per usual. Thank you so much for those that called in, took time to offer their insight, their sports opinions, but do not go anywhere. I believe Carl Dukes is coming up next, so you want to stick around for that. Put him up! This is David Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network. I love you all. Be good, be smooth. Talk to you next weekend, everybody.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining.